Hi, everybody. This is the Agitator podcast, the only podcast that used to be about anime and is now going to be about books. My name is J. David Osborne, and today I have Brad Kelly on the show. Brad is the host of the Method and Madness podcast and the Art of Darkness podcast. He's the author of House of Sleep, and most recently, the Earthen Dark, which is what we're going to talk about. Brad, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm doing a bunch of these podcasts, so I'm excited for all of them, and particularly stoked to come on here and talk with you. So this is really cool.
I've been stoked too because here's my thing, man. I read the book and I loved it. But I read a lot of books and I like a
Yeah.
lot of books. But I think that you and I have, here's how I'll put it. We have similar damage, if my read of this book is correct. Um, this thing is kind of a nightmare. It's kind of just
Yeah.
like every scary thing that you could think of happening to somebody happening.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much you want to get in. We won't like spoil the end or anything like that. But when I got to the end, I was like, like the psychogeography of the book all kind of fell into place for me, and I kind of realized what it is and what it was doing. And so, first of all, congratulations. It's
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that.
Secondly, let's talk about writing process. So, you're
Yeah.
a discovery writer, right? So, was that kind of in mind when you started this book or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like what's the sort of I was thinking about this the other day because I know I'm going to be coming on these podcasts and trying to explain things a little bit. And you don't really think about like where is this stuff coming from as you're doing it. It's just like let's make the thing happen and this makes sense, that doesn't make sense. I like this, I don't like this. And I mean part of it is the feeling of underground. Like the feeling of being underground is so unique and uh so evocative and so scary. Like, you get down there and everything's safe and cognitively you know everything's safe, and yet there's a part of you that's reacting the way you might react if you were encountering like a wild animal. It's just
Hmm.
like this is
Hmm.
not where I'm supposed to be. This is not safe, and I won't actually be calm until I am, I am back above ground where I can see the sun. Um, and so part of it was just spending time in that space and being so, in a ways I didn't understand how to put words around, being so sort of like move. I was going to say moved. And when people say moved, that usually means like something emotional touches their heart. This was sort of like, this was pushing me off my axis somehow.
Hmm.
And I needed to figure out what the hell that was. And so that begins a process. It's almost like I felt like for me personally, and I don't necessarily know that the book gets this across, though it's part of the attempt, I suppose. There was a specific feeling I'd never had before that I wanted to like chart out the territory of it and what are the associative symbols and visuals and images and all of that stuff that would go along with that to make it a sort of cohesive environment. So yeah, so discovery. I mean, by that you just mean like we figure it out as we go, kind of. Is that?
I do, yeah. What you're
Yeah,
describing
yeah.
sounds like almost like a sublime feeling, kind of the
Hmm.
reverse of seeing the Grand Canyon or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because whenever I see something like the Grand Canyon, or we were talking about Taos earlier, these beautiful
Hmm.
purple mountains, I get the feeling of of it being a god. I totally get
Yes.
how the idea of a god became a thing.
Hmm.
And this book, there is a god, essentially, a type of god thing in there.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like the reverse of it's like the subterranean shouldn't like things are not going to be the same when I
Hmm.
get up to the surface. I will be changed somehow by this.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yes, so what I mean by that is it's a polite way of saying pantser, right? Like you kind of figure that shit out as you go along.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I am a pantser in a lot of ways, but I also am a plotter in other ways, but I sort of let the pantser um I let the pantser be the leader of it, if that makes sense. It's like
Hmm. Hmm.
the plotter is going to come along and is going to figure out how to make that all work. The plotter is going to figure out how to make this dramatic and interesting and make people go from page to page. And the pantser is the one who's going to basically scout ahead and find stuff and bring things to the surface, and then the plotter has to figure out what to do with that.
That's a really
So
cool way of putting it too, because
yeah,
that works for this. So the pantser is the roughneck who's down in the hole covered in shit, and the
right.
plotter is like up with a clipboard and like the little drone and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Yeah.
this. Great
Exactly.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
cool.
It's interesting too. So this is a little bit of biography that I think is in. We were also talking about synchronicities a little bit before I think before we hit record, and so when I first decided to take writing seriously, I live in the Detroit area and I went to school here originally as an engineer, and um, sort of like my last year of school, it wasn't the specific subfield that I was going to end up working in, but I had this class in hydraulics, open channel hydraulics, and we did a field trip down into this big sewer facility, huge space. It was like Walmart square footage, but about, I don't know, multiple house stories tall, all in this chamber underground. And I'm not going to get into technicals of even why this exists, but it's a crazy space, right? It feels like it shouldn't be there because it's really, really massive, and it's, below all these buildings that you drive by every day. And I was, quote unquote, moved by that. And shortly after that, I graduated from my first undergrad and I moved to Idaho and I took a job, a totally different job that was unrelated to sewers at all. And I started taking writing really seriously. I was like, I'm gonna, work full time. I'm a bachelor. I don't really know anybody here, so I'm just gonna get real serious about writing. And taking classes at the local college, creative writing classes at the local college and all of that. And I wrote a story set in a sewer based on this field trip we had. And I didn't even, and it was crappy because it was really my first attempt to write something that had like plot and like characters that I didn't know. That wasn't basically like auto fiction of some sort. It was
Hmm.
like the first thing I tried to do that. I didn't even realize, and it was crappy. It was garbage. It'll never see the light of day. I don't even think I have it anymore. I forgot about it completely. Years went by, like a decade went by or more. Yeah, more than that. And I ended up living all over the country, whatever, coming back to Michigan, where I'm from originally, and casting about for whatever job would hire me. And I end up getting an engineering gig at this company that works in sewers. And I end up down in the sewers as part of my work and being sort of inspired to write about this again. But what's odd is like I didn't even remember that first story until I was probably almost done with a draft of this one. I was like, oh, it's almost like some of the same characters and the scenario is similar. Like it's just interesting how
Yeah,
that works.
dude.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't conscious. It wasn't like I need to go revisit that short story. It was
Right.
like I've rediscovered it somehow in my brain without even being
Hmm.
conscious of it, which is
Yeah. No, it's
interesting.
crazy. I think that we're all
Yeah.
driven to write about three things. And it's figuring out what
Yeah.
those three things are and then not having any shame about the fact that
Mm,
we're supposed to write about three things. You find different ways to combine it. That's
mm,
part of the fun, but
hmm.
really at the bottom. So for me, it's like having a bad dad. Uh, uh, and then I don't know. There's other
Yeah.
ones too, I'm sure.
There's other
But
ones.
yeah,
Right.
we're all basically it's like, oh, I'm writing this new genre, right? Like this one's going to be cyberpunk, and then when I go back and read it, I'm like, oh no, it's the same. It's all the same
Right.
themes. Yeah, they've just
Right.
got fake arms now, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Some of that stuff ends up being sort of like dressing on the outside of the thing that you're actually doing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So with this one, then when did you start writing it?
Would it be probably, I guess, late 2020 or
Hmm.
something like that? And it's been done. It just came out, but it was done for more than a year before it came out. So I've been working on other stuff. But yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
2020 or thereabouts.
Hmm.
And that was as I was kind of coming to the end of, House of Sleep came out, and then I was coming to the end of the time at this job where I was in the sewer all the time. I mean, I had a period where I would be I'd be spend most of the workday in the sewer for, 4 or 5 days out of the work week, depending. And so, um, the whole time I'm down there, I'm just stewing on this,
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
getting
yeah.
myself freaked out sometimes too. Honestly, just
Sure.
like
Yeah, yeah.
getting real spooky with it in my own head.
Right.
So yeah, so it started, and it took many different iterations, and I'm just a ceaseless redrafter. So there's like the first version of this is got some of the same core stuff, but is very, very, very different.
In what way? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean there was an old timer character. There's a character on the sewer crew who was like deep into his 60s and who like knew all the lore. And I just decided I wanted it to get weirder than that. And
Hmm,
so
hmm.
the sort of exposition that he was meant to carry ends up coming across through another character who kind of gets this knowledge about how it all works through pretty interesting means, I think.
Yeah.
Um, the different iterations of what happens to them when they try to get out of the sewer. There's, probably another 15 different different versions of where they go to when they climb out that didn't make it into the book. Um,
Of the like of the how they get out towards the end, or just you mean
uh,
just
uh,
like the different worlds and
yeah,
scenarios
the
and
different
stuff?
sort of worlds that they enter as they're like figuring
Sure.
out what's happening to
Did
them,
you
right? The
end up
different
putting those? Because there are some paragraphs that kind of truncate all that into, then it was this, and then it was that kind of
so,
like,
some
yeah,
of that happened to that too, because I wanted to show this sort of efflorescence of all the different ways it could kind of go without necessarily like conveying them all dramatically.
right.
So that definitely happened. The first pass, it was so the kind of one of the aspects of this, the main character, this guy Jim, he's an academic who, loses his status and position through, sort of socio-cultural means that we're all pretty
Cancel
familiar with at this
culture.
point. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And but the first pass, they were all from that same sort of class or strata. All the
Hmm,
characters were. Um,
hmm, hmm.
and yeah, I don't really know. I couldn't tell you exactly why I decided to sort of add that thing in, but I think it partially I thought that it maybe gave me access to talking about some stuff that was sort of related and also interesting to me, but wouldn't have taken place in the context of the story straight through.
Right,
And so I
right,
got to
right.
kind of play in some of that territory a little bit more,
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Just give me 1 second. My dog is
Sure.
banging on his bowl.
Oh yeah,
This is
I
what
get that.
happens when mom is away. And I'm
Right.
give
Go
me
for
one
it.
second. I'll be right back.
Sure, go for it.
Ay, 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 ay. These kids, these children. But yeah,
Uh,
what was, can you remind me the very last thing that you said?
I was just talking about the using this academic and putting him in the sewer as opposed
Right.
to just like going with all of them being like a blue collar crew of guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
No,
and
I love that.
yeah,
I love that.
and
And
I think
also, go ahead.
probably yeah, and I think probably he's also a little bit more of a stand-in for me that way as well.
That's what I
So
figured.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
he's a
that
little
too.
bit he's headier, but you don't make him a know-it-all either. He kind of doesn't know
Mm,
what the hell is going on too. We
right.
talked about this though when I was on Method and
Yeah.
Madness, and
Yeah.
so I was a huge fan of the openings of these chapters, which talk
Mm,
about all sorts of different. Basically, he's an anthropologist, and
mhm.
I think your next book should be like Weird Indiana Jones.
Right.
Because this kind of comes close, like when they
Yeah.
go when there's there's lots of mounds in this, right?
Mhm.
And when they go into that one mound and there's the kind of priest who follows them back. I was feeling a
Mhm.
little bit of indie vibes with that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah,
So
there is an Indiana Jones. And honestly, somebody should like there should have been an Indiana Jones and the Legend of the Mounds or something like that, man.
absolutely,
I'm
the
sort of
snake mound.
obsessed with yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah,
sort of obsessed with the North American mound culture.
yeah.
And I think people are starting to kind of raise their eyebrow at it now and be like, yeah, what is up with all these freaking like
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
that about? And we haven't done, they haven't there for people who aren't aware, I mean, there's a mound building culture in North America that like predates it predates the tribes that were here when the Europeans came. So they're the ancestors of these people, but we don't know that much about their culture because some of it's thousands of years older, right? So you imagine how similar we are to Europeans from 1,000 years ago. It's not that similar, really,
Hmm, hmm,
in a lot of ways. And these people, and they probably represented many different tribes, but they had, by some estimates, hundreds of thousands of dirt mounds that we don't really understand what they were exactly. You can surmise some things about specific mounds. The Snake Mound is awesome, and it's apparently got these astronomical alignments. I just have to take Graham Hancock's word for it.
hmm,
Um,
hmm.
but there's tons of them. They're everywhere. I live very close to Mound Road, which presumably there was a mound here not that long ago, right? And nobody knows anything about it. And many of them, thousands of them, just got bulldozed or whatever for farmland.
Hmm.
And then by the time anybody started really paying attention to them, well, let me back up. A lot of them got bulldozed or whatever for agriculture, etc. The Smithsonian made this huge effort in the late 1800s to survey them, and they started finding like giants and some weird shit. So they very quickly shut all that down. And then in the 20th century, for reasons that I can see the argument for, Native American tribes made it so that the how much archaeological work could be done on the mounds was limited to almost nothing. So we really don't even know, we don't know much about them at all. And there are freaking hundreds of thousands of them. And
Hmm,
I just find
hmm.
that fascinating. And here's the other thing. So like as a civil engineer, technically like what goes on my resume, I'm a geotechnical engineer. And if you look at the dirt that they moved to make these things, they didn't have the wheel, they didn't have draft animals, and they were moving millions of tons of dirt. And you think about how much dirt you can move one person.
To me personally, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Me too. Me too. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But let's
Yeah.
say let's say you're moving 50 to 100 pounds of dirt. You can start doing the math on these
Yeah.
bigger mounds, and it
Yeah.
becomes this like civic project that's kind of baffling how they
Yeah.
would be able to do it over and over and over and over and over again. So there's a real mystery to the whole thing, and I don't presume to have any special insight into it, but I do find it fascinating. And they were up to something. Yeah,
Bro,
for
dude,
for sure.
this book, the way I was describing it to my wife was it contains almost everything that dudes are afraid of, and also everything that dudes think are cool. You
That's
know?
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's a book by Peter Levenda called Sinister Forces,
Hmm.
which is a grand conspiracy red dot connection of everything from the Templars all the way through to modern day, right? And he
Yeah.
has a lot of chapters about the Snake Mound or the Serpent Mound in Asheville, Kentucky,
Hmm.
because Asheville is where Charles Manson was born and where he grew up.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
he does this kind of Peter Levenda thing. Like he wrote a book on is it Kenneth Grant? I can't remember
Probably
now.
could be. That sounds, I could see him writing a book on Kenneth
I
Grant. Yeah.
think I think it's yeah, I think it's called The Dark Lord. That's the other one that I read. And so in his very Peter Levenda way, he's making some kind of connections to like this ancient evil that's in the Serpent Mound that was
Yeah.
like born as Charles Manson, basically. And it's like, is
Hell
that
yeah.
true? Most likely not. Is it
Yeah.
awesome?
Yeah. That's pretty
100%.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it what I choose to believe to be true?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
book does have things that guys think are because guys think sewers are cool. We've
Hmm.
always thought sewers were cool. That's part of
Hmm.
what made the Ninja Turtles cool,
Yep.
was the fact that they lived in a cool place in the sewer. You weren't thinking as a boy, it probably smells god awful down there. You were just like
Right.
in Turtles
Right.
2, Secret of the Ooze, where they have like the whole cool Art Deco setup under there for like the
Yeah.
1920s abandoned subway
Yeah.
station. Shit
Yeah.
is dope. And so
Yep.
we've got that in this book. We've got guys being bros, which
Hmm.
is always awesome.
Hmm.
Busting each other's balls and shit.
Yeah.
We've got like every scenario. So basically, please feel free to fill in any gaps where I fucked
Mhm.
this up. But the book is essentially about Jim, who is an academic anthropologist who accidentally calls a black girl the wrong name, and she takes that the way wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of the that's not the only thing. It's this cascade of bad luck, essentially.
Yeah.
And he rolls over and resigns, which is a
That's key.
huge part of the
I'm
book.
glad you noticed that. It's really about him rolling over
Yes,
in my head more than about what actually happens. Yeah.
right. And that's a very
Um,
good point and one that I agree with. I want to get
yeah.
back to that. So he
Yeah.
rolls over, he resigns, and his sister-in-law, I believe,
Hmm.
has a like kind of a speculation like some kind of surveying company of the underground. Long story short, he's down in the shit with the boys, right?
Hmm.
And they're going through and they're drilling holes and they're filling those holes with concrete, basically,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Is it like an epoxy? It's concrete, right?
Yeah, there's early on what they're doing is call we call in the business chemical grouting. So you spray this so sewers leak, and when they leak, normally what's happening is a void is forming around the pipe, and you can't see it, but
Hmm.
a void is a problem because it's unbalanced pressure, and also once you've got water coming in, that means it's usually bringing soil with it, and that
Right.
means eventually you're going to lose it. So what they do
Yep.
is they take the stuff that starts as a liquid, acrylamide, and you pump it through the wall and into this void that you can't see, and it turns into like a pretty dense gelatin, essentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is sort of a standard practice. It's done all over the place. That's the primary thing they're doing, but they're also doing other repairs and stuff
There's
like
one.
that. Yeah.
I am a nerd about this. There is one where they
Hmm.
put anchors in and then concrete. Is
Hmm.
that like that's kind of their version of like a rebar for the concrete, right?
Yeah,
Like
so
that.
in that's old stuff. Another thing you can do if there's actual holes and missing concrete and stuff like that, you actually will like rebuild the wall by hand.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
so they're setting rebar and reinforcement and then just packing concrete into it. Yeah.
Like I said, everything that boys like, bro. Like I was like,
Right.
I loved all the stuff about them fixing this and getting their
Yeah.
hands dirty in construction. So they're down
Yeah.
there, they're figuring this stuff out, and they find this hole. Another thing guys love,
Mhm.
hole with a tunnel in it. Nobody knows where it's
Right.
going. Let's follow it, find out what's going on. They go down the tunnel, they encounter a mysterious force, and when they try to go back, the very first thing that happens is they go back up to the top, and everything is like everybody's gone.
Mhm.
People have disappeared. There's
Ghost
nobody
town,
there.
yeah. Yeah.
And already it's getting pretty spooky. So they go back down. And I think the guy, Jim, keeps going back and forth to his house because he has a wife named Liz and a daughter named
Mhm.
Shelley, whom he loves very much. They become his North Star, the people who he's trying to get to. That's what drives his character. But the second time they come up, it's basically like everybody's gone crazy and there's
Mhm.
fires and people are cutting each other, like cutting ears off and all kinds of crazy shit. And so now at this point, we're wondering what the hell's going on. There's kind of a crackhead character named Wheezy who is saying all these strange prophecies, and he's talking about the tunnel like it's his girlfriend, and what the hell is going on? And then you start to realize that every time they go up, it's something different,
Mhm.
basically. And they try every manner that they can to like work with the tunnel in a way to be able to escape from its grasp. And that's where the horror aspect comes from. And towards the end, what I found it to be, their solution to it, I started to see all these different, iterations of the world that they go into as almost like I have OCD really bad, like an anxiety disorder. And I saw it as a uh, like it was like ruminations, like these kind of like
Mhm.
big what ifs. Like what if I walked out my door and people were cutting each other's wieners off? Like what would we
Right.
do? And
Right.
and then oh man, I'll cut it if you don't. I'm not going to spoil the ending.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the way I saw it was the only way out is through, which is also what you learn with like things like cognitive behavioral therapy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You have to just
Yeah.
and it felt so I did a little game too, like because
Yeah.
I got to the I'm not going to say anything. That would be
Okay.
a spoil. Okay, I'm done. That's
Okay.
plot
Yeah, we don't want
synopsis.
to spoil the end because
We don't want.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about the end from people, which is
I loved
incredibly
it.
gratifying to me.
I loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there's about six different endings that I wrote to this book, and this is the one that I went with, and people seem to dig it. Yeah.
Here's the thing,
So
man. I don't think they like it as much as I do, though. So here's the thing. Uh,
I love that.
this is one of those where like when you watch something and it's really good, and man, a bunch of people are gonna like this, or you read something, same deal. Everybody's gonna love
Mhm.
this, but they're like, but they don't get it like I get it. Like I
Mm,
get this. So
mm.
anyway, I have a special. I, I'm the best reader that has read this
Oh,
book.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. No, I love that. I mean, part of all of this kind of comes from like how I sort of decided to approach this because you talked about that's where the horror aspect comes in. I got obsessed, and this partially happened when I saw that movie Midsummer, and people have very different opinions
I
about it.
loved it.
I loved it. I have some things. It's one of those movies I love, but also if I were involved in it creatively, I think I would have done a few things different. But this is not a criticism. I did love it, but it
Hmm.
did make me. And here's when I watched it, I was like. No, when they just start murdering people, that's where it becomes stale to me. When you just because and that's fine to just have the story be people and have the story be people murdering each other. But what came to mind was like, no, I want a horror story where what is at risk is not being killed. Like, what does that look like? What's as scary or scarier than being killed, right? And it's not that nobody in the book dies. That does happen, but that's
Hmm.
not really the risk to these guys that they're
You
going to be
almost
killed.
feel relief for them in a
Right.
certain way
Right.
because of the
Exactly.
hell that they've been put through. I thought to myself so many times, like I would have been
Yeah.
done like
Right.
way
Right.
earlier.
Right.
But
After like one or two attempts, it's like we're not getting out of this, man. Like
yeah, yeah,
this is how this is our life now, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's part of the that as my sort of I guess any writing project, short stories, novel, whatever. I'm always like there's always like almost like a problem I want to solve. Like
yes,
what
yes.
does this look
Hmm.
like when it's this? And that was this. What does a horror story look like when the risk isn't that you're just going to get like eaten by some monster, that you're going to something else to be afraid of, I guess.
No, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it does come through. And I think what helps it come through too is that the prose is great. We can get into your influences, but it's also a very patient book. It felt like to me. It felt like it was telling me the story at a very relaxed pace, which when you combine a slower or relaxed pace with being closed in and being trapped. It's almost like it feels like you locked us in like a box underground, and
Yeah.
you're talking to us through a walkie-talkie, and you're like, hey man, how's it going? Yeah.
Right.
Like
Right.
we got all day. We
Yeah. Yeah. You've
so
got, I don't know, you got probably a day or two of air down there. So
yeah,
yeah,
so
it'll be
you'll
all
be
right.
fine. Yeah. Anyway, how's it going?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but influence wise,
Mhm.
what do you feel come through when you write? Whose spirits
Yeah,
do you feel working through you?
I mean, I just, for Method Madness, I just did an episode on The Crossing with the great Andrew Edwards. And, I have to accept that Cormac McCarthy is a huge influence on me, on the sentence by sentence level. So, and as time goes on, that becomes more and more not so much, I think, a direct influence on his syntax and word choice, but a influence on the care that he puts into the phrasing and the rhythms and all of that. And so taking that very seriously, that okay, what does this sentence sound and feel like? Make sure it means what it needs to mean, but like what does it actually sound and feel like, and what kind of place does it take you to as a reader? So that's a big one. Dennis Johnson's also a big influence on that same token of sort of style. Um, but you know, I sort of quote kind of like marketed this thing as if Cormac McCarthy and Jorge Luis Borges teamed up to write a piece of pulp that would go into Weird Tales. That's sort of
Mm.
like I was trying to
Hmm.
try. I was my head influence wise was trying to sort of triangulate these three things and try to make something that would appeal to somebody who is a fan of any one of those three things, or like me, all three of them. So I would say those are the big ones. And it's funny. I realize I'm working on a putting together a short story collection, and most of it's stuff that's been floating around or I wrote a while ago that it's coming out probably early next year. And the guy who's editing it, Bill, shout out Bill at Farthest Heaven, he's like, you're basically writing, and he meant this in a very loving way. He's like, you're basically writing Twilight Zone episodes, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing is I'm writing Twilight Zone episodes. It's just like, what if this weird fucking thing was happening? And then it all kind of just plays out, right?
Yeah.
So that's also that kind of thing is also this sort of propositional idea of like it's life, but this one thing is different. Now, how does
Yeah.
everything work?
What
So
if
that's
clocks
also a
were
big influence.
alive?
Right,
Right?
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can make that work for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, I like
So
that.
so that's a big factor for me. So yeah, I would say sort of those, I guess like four things are kind of my big would right now anyway are kind of my big influences. But as I moved into the other project, I'm starting to take on board a couple other ones maybe. I don't know if I'll switch anything out necessarily, but
What do you
that's
mean
the
by
stuff
that?
well, so like I'm working on something now that's uh I got really pissed off at the last season of True Detective and um and I watched every episode. I hate watched every episode of it,
I
right?
didn't finish it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I stuck through. I didn't enjoy it, but I was like I'm watching the
I
end of
loved
this
that
shit.
first central image of the dudes all stuck together. I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be
no.
awesome. I
That was
thought,
cool.
but it just, I
Yeah.
don't know, man. I didn't hate it. It just,
Yeah.
I didn't feel compelled to turn on
Right.
one
Yeah.
anything past the second episode.
Yeah, it wasn't without redeeming qualities, but in general, I was upset with it because to me, what it did to the sort of legacy of season one,
Hmm.
it frustrated me. And I
Mm,
told my wife at one point while we are watching, it's like I could have done better than this. If they'd have put me in charge, I could have done better than this.
yeah.
And I said that, and a part of my mind went, yeah, but could you? Could you?
Mm,
Are you
hmm.
sure? Are you sure you could? And
Hmm.
so, so the next project I'm working on is like essentially true detective fan fiction. But the cool thing about that is fan fiction is an anthology show sort of anyway. Like it's not, I'm not using characters from True Detective. I spent a lot of time figuring out what the DNA of True Detective is to write something that would be faithful to season one, basically.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome. You know,
I
I'm
would
a
say
huge fan of
yeah,
of
me too.
of 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 fan
Yeah,
fiction. That's
yeah,
that's all that I do. Like God's Fair
yeah.
No Better was cyberpunk fan fiction.
Sure.
This next book, what Berserker Club is like, it's I don't
Aren't,
know, meek a pastiche, but I'm doing X-Files, you know?
yeah,
So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and it's because they're making the new season, and I'm like, okay, I've watched all these. Like, I know this shit. And I
Right.
think Ryan Coogler is a very talented filmmaker, and I
Mhm.
actually don't think that he'll fuck it up. But I was like, I know he's gonna
We'll
do it
see.
differently. But
Yeah.
what if you just did that show, but your version of it?
Right.
I think
Right.
that's cool. I think too
Yeah.
many writers try to reinvent the wheel and be like,
Mhm.
okay, True Detective, but what if it's what if one of the guys is like a baby or something like that, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And
Right.
it's like, no,
Right.
what if you just did Rust Cohle and whoever Woody Harrelson was, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
tell your own story with them and
Right.
how do those characters come out through you? Like we're prisms through which this stuff is reflected anyway.
Mhm.
So even if you were writing straight Russ Cole fanfic, it would be different because it'd be Brad
Yeah.
Kelly's Russ Cole, you know?
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And what's interesting about these two things, True Detective and X-Files aren't actually that far apart in terms of this sort of DNA that I'm talking about, like the
Hmm.
structures that hold them together. You've got the partnership, obviously. You've got them dealing with like an incomprehensible crime or mystery. You've got them having a sort of yin-yang relationship in terms of like what they believe and how they perceive the event. So yeah, they're very similar actually.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. I mean, the dynamic of the two partners is forever, it's evergreen, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you need one weirdo and one
Hmm.
person who believes in science,
Right.
and it's fun every single time. And the
Yeah.
fun thing for me, I finished my outline of this new book and I love it. It's great. I've got everything locked in and tight. It's going to be nice. But the hardest part of it was finding the clues that can be interpreted both because the clue can't be that the monster shows up, even though sometimes in the
Right.
X-Files it did, and Scully was still
Yeah.
like, mm-mm, nope, not real. Uh, but like you can't have that happen. Like you can't literally have an alien walk up to them, and even though again that
Right.
literally happened in the X-Files, like a bunch of little
Yeah.
aliens run by Scully, and she's like, that I don't know what that was, but
I don't know what that was, but my scientific knowledge explains it. I'm sure of that.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
They always,
Yeah.
I think that character, but both of those characters, honestly, in large part, I mean, the writers were fantastic for that show. I
Hmm.
mean, no disrespect at all, but I mean, the actors did such a bunch of heavy lifting for a lot
Yes.
of that to make it because they both could become very annoying very quickly.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the actors were just great in that. But yeah, no, so you have these two characters, you have a case, and then you have to figure out how the thing that they are observing can be seen through these two different
Yeah.
lenses. It was a fun
Yeah.
challenge for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I mean this is total nerd writer stuff, but like I'm very much thinking about that with this project I'm working on. And I want to do this dynamic where the one guy believes it's the one guy is the Mulder version. In
mhm.
my case, it's two dudes, right? But and the one guy is the Scully sort of. And I want to do the thing where Mulder is trying to convince Scully for a bunch of time. And then something happens where Scully believes and Mulder doesn't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to like somehow maneuver this switch. I haven't figured it out yet. That's
I
like my
th
challenge I'm setting myself.
If you
Yeah.
want to watch some great episodes,
Yeah.
Beyond the Sea, X-Files
Okay.
Beyond the Sea has
I'm writing these down.
it has Brad Dourif
Oh, yeah.
as a death row inmate who,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the episode, Scully's dad passes away. It's the guy from Twin Peaks. I can't remember his name, the bald guy. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about, the
Oh, yeah. I
military
know what you're
dude.
talking about. Yeah.
So he passes away, and he appears to her in a vision. And then when she goes to, basically, this guy's going to be put to death for multiple homicides, and says that he has a secret message from her dad that he will give to her if she's able to help him in some way. And Mulder is just not having it at all, right? There's also it's the one
But
with Peter Boyle, where Peter
okay.
Boyle's so like
I
basically
kind of remember that one.
Mulder does not believe in any like religious stuff,
Hmm.
right? If anything religious pops up, he's immediately the skeptic, and
Yeah.
Scully's a little bit more because she always wears the cross. She's the
That's a
believer.
good point. Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
you give like Mulder believes everything else. It could be Bigfoot, aliens,
Yeah.
like people
Yeah.
switching bodies, he's
Right.
on board.
Yeah,
But
but
as
the
soon
idea
as
that there's a God, whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if it's like a demon did this, Skulder's like or Skulder, Mulder is like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Right,
So yeah,
right,
so
right.
it's a fun dynamic that way. Also, hey, what's up, Nikki? Welcome.
What's up, yo?
This
Hi,
is
Nick.
Nikki. I don't know if you and Brad have met, but
No, we haven't. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. Great book. Just finished it
Thanks.
like an hour ago. It was awesome.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Cool. Thanks for giving it a shot. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. What were y'all talking about?
we
Besides
talked
X
about
Files.
the book, and then yeah, we got on to X-Files, but I'm interested in your thoughts, Nikki. What did you think of the Earthen Turret?
Yeah, man, it was really good. I didn't have any expectations because when you sent it to us last week, I didn't know any. I didn't look anything up about it. I just went in completely blind. Um, kind of. Just from like pop culture, I thought it was gonna be like about rats. What's the Stephen King? Uh, isn't there like a similar Stephen King where they're like underground and I think I've seen the movie Night Shift or something. Is
Yeah.
that the
Well,
one I'm
there is
thinking of?
it. I mean,
Well, no, it
Yeah.
did remind
yeah,
me of it a little bit actually,
it does.
especially
Yeah.
towards the end, and but
Mhm.
in a more like abstract, just kind of like um, sort of like okay. So my favorite parts of the book were uh, when they were all interacting with the people from the different times. So the part when they all went to this sort of like you described it kind of like translucent like building that was in the middle of the sort of like a lot of the descriptions sort of like blended together to me of the time. Like I felt as disoriented as like Jim, you know what I'm saying? In a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Like it was like, but I didn't find that confusing. Like it was confusing, but in a way where I was totally on board and was awesome. And I really liked that. Especially my favorite part was when like, spoilers obviously, like when the captain like kills Wheezy and he falls down into the hole. That whole section was very like I've not stopped thinking about that for like 3 days straight, and it was like I had a dream about it last night because it's been very like that imagery was like
The hole is
so
scary.
good.
The hole
Yeah,
is super scary.
yeah,
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I pictured it like they were in like a Tool video or
Me too.
something.
Something
Yeah.
like that. It had
Yeah.
that imagery, those colors. I was imagining like really deep greens and like kind of purples and like like yeah, but translucent at the same time. Tools are great. That's a great
Yeah.
descriptor.
Hell yeah.
Um, and then the like sort of like robotic like thing that was chasing after them when they're like hopping on the mounds. I was also really good and scared. But those are like some of like the things I had to say because they've just those images have been stuck in my head like for like the past couple of days since I read them, and they're really awesome.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, yeah.
It's
All
fun to
the
hear
stuff
this
I
kind of
was
stuff.
most nervous about this book, people like. So I feel like
Every
What were
single
you
it's a
most
time.
sign.
What were you
Yeah.
most nervous about?
Well, that scene you're talking about, I was like, I don't know if this is going to make any sense or be like, I don't know if this
No,
is going to
it was
work for people at
awesome.
all. And the ending, the last like two chapters, I don't want to give that away because, it's the end.
Hmm.
But I was like, man, I don't know. This might be too much. This might be not. But people seem to like the end, so
I
that's
thought the end was
awesome.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
man.
and it's like with this book too, and this won't spoil the end, don't worry. But
Mm,
one thing that this book reminded me of too is that so the character of Jim, he rolls over, he resigns, and this book is without being like manosphere type shit. It is about an initiation ritual, and you can really feel it towards the end. And one of the things that I've often noticed about our culture, you know bullet ants?
hmm.
Have you seen the native peoples who weave the gloves out of bullet ants? And when a kid
Yes.
turns like 14, basically bullet ant stings, there's something called the pain index, which I didn't know before I looked it up. And apparently a bullet ant sting hurts worse than being shot. So these motherfuckers make gloves weaving these ants into it with their stingers facing down towards where your hands are going to
Right,
go. And so
right,
you have
right.
to put your hands into the gloves and they usually lift them up and they go into a kind of pain trance because it hurts so much.
Yes.
Native tribes do this because women go through childbirth. They experience this
Oh,
kind of body altering pain that changes them as human beings. Men don't have any equivalency.
it's
And
true.
so
Yeah.
in these tribes, boys are forced to go through something intense like that just so that they kind of get their like, hey, it's not all fucking fun and games, dude. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
pain in this world, right? There's
Yeah.
consequences. The world exists. And so we live in a society that is completely devoid of any kind of initiation rituals for our young men. Jim missed his,
Mhm.
and now he has one
Now he's
by the
got
end
one.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really well put. And I'm very much one thing I've always been interested in is the way that boys and young men will try to recreate what that initiation ritual is supposed to do. They'll find something like that accomplishes that.
Hmm.
Accomplishes a similar thing, and it comes in a lot of it can come in a lot of ways. Like it's almost like intensity in any variety. Like you can literally like try to find it through like alcohol or drugs. You can find
Hmm.
it through like sports. There's a bunch of different ways that I guess that young men find crime. Like when you don't have it provided to you by the culture as like an example, you'll just look for it in like
That was,
totally wild ways. I mean,
yeah.
I did that for
That
sure.
was my early 20s. It was taking a bunch of drugs and getting punched in the face a lot
Yeah,
because of
yeah, yeah,
my big fat mouth. But
yeah.
uh but yeah, no, you're totally right. You will start to look for it. And it makes me think maybe not bullet ants, but
Mhm.
something that I mean, the scouts are like this. You know,
I was in the Boy Scouts, yeah.
I was too, but I
Yeah.
quit and I love my parents. I'd never want to disparage my parents, but one thing I do wish that they had done was push me a little bit because I could be like, I don't want to do that anymore. And they'd be like, okay, yeah. I kind of
Right.
wish they were like, no, you're gonna go. and
Yeah.
you don't have to like it because I think I could have learned a lot from things like the Scouts or I quit sports in high school because I wanted to like play guitar and fuck around instead.
Which is cool. Which is cool too. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah,
I just a little bit because adulthood then comes in and say adulthood is the thing that says, well, you can't quit. So
yeah, yeah.
you have to figure that out. But you think you can quit at first, so you do, and then you learn
Right.
how bad it is to quit things when you're an adult.
Right. Right.
But anyway, not to get too off track, but I do think that something that's interesting, and this isn't a lot of in a lot of like these kind of spheres. We're having on Jack Norman who wrote Sleep Capricorn, and we're gonna have Andy Edwards on,
Yeah.
and in a lot of these books, I don't exactly know how to put it, but they're like guy books.
Yeah.
But that brings to mind like this cringy like that it has to be about like being a man, but it's really not. It's just I mean I think girls would enjoy it too,
Yeah.
but it's a dude
Yeah,
book,
yeah, it's the set pieces are things that are interesting to dudes. The plot is things that dudes can relate to. Dudes definitely relate to. The stakes or stuff that guys relate to. Yeah, it's not like an exclusionary kind of like it's not Robert E. Howard stuff
right? Right.
necessarily,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
I love, by the way. I mean,
yeah.
I love that stuff, but it's not quite that, but it's definitely if it was if it was a show back in the old flipping the channels day, your wife would be like, I don't know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know
No,
about that.
no, it's funny. It's so funny, dude, because you're gonna hate this. But
Yeah.
I put my books into ChatGPT and I was like,
Oh, okay.
what are the
Yeah.
flaws here? Like what do I need to work on?
Why not?
And one of the things it said was like, you have no women in your book. They said like women in your book exist to be fucked or killed. That's why they're there. And
Damn.
I was like, damn, but I had a girl in the one book, and it was like that was just a guy. That was,
That was a guy with a girl's name. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't do it on purpose, and I doubt you do too. But it's just kind of following
I
what's
don't. I
interesting,
mean, my last book, House of Sleep, had three it wasn't in first person, but three sort of perspective characters, and they sort of took turns in each chapter. And one of them was a woman, and not a masculine, not a woman, not a man with a woman's name, but like, yeah,
hmm
I tried to make her a woman, the believable character as a woman. So, it's just whatever makes sense for the project. This did not make sense beyond Jim's wife. That didn't make a ton of sense for me to have a woman in there.
Yeah,
Just
I
didn't.
like their relationship too. I thought that was. Do you have kids?
Thanks, man. I've got a stepdaughter. Yeah,
Okay,
and I'm
okay,
married.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I felt like those felt realistic to me too. I thought that that was well done. It's really a difficult situation that somebody like Jim is in from a woman's perspective, because the advice that she gives him is great. There's one point where she goes, whether you're going to do it or not, like figure it out. Like, what are
Do it.
you like? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think that's what women kind of want to do. They just want to see that you're making decisions
Right.
and trying basically. So I thought that was good. I thought that that could have turned into a kind of some authors would have turned that into kind of a nag character, you know?
I don't, I mean, I do not like the woman character exists to be a nag trope. I do not like
The
that.
Skylar
I,
paradox.
I
I
was
don't
thinking the
like
same
it.
thing,
And
David.
Yeah.
It could have easily turned into that, but she was like very compelling and like a sweet character, and like I like it could have easily turned into Nag if it was like I don't know, it just could have, but she wasn't like that at all. It was like a sweet relationship ultimately. Like they like the both of them like uh it felt real. It definitely felt real.
Yep. Are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
you guys came. Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool.
Uh,
So So anyhow, with like some of the more scary elements of the book, when you are writing these things, do you this is gonna sound like a weird like I'm not going back to the pantser versus plotter thing, but like how do you determine when something is scary? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
are you
that's
sitting there writing this and doing things that you think personally are scary, but you're kind of like, I don't know if anybody else is gonna think this is scary, or is there a
yeah,
scary
yeah.
meter?
Kind of like, I don't know my previous stuff. I don't know how much I've operated in the scary territory. Like this is the only thing I've ever written that I would say like could consider a piece of horror. And so I'm kind of learning that as I go. There were definitely like, I mean, early on, I did ask myself, like, what would be the most fucked up thing to happen if you came up? Like, what would be the most unsettling thing that you could see when you came out of the sewer? Not the most like jump scare thing, but like the
Hmm.
most like, uh, I don't know, like cosmologically unsettling thing that
Hmm.
could happen, right? So,
Hmm.
so there was a bit of that, which was just like casting around for like what is actually makes me uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think part of it is taking stuff from like movies and books that freaks me out and understanding that a lot of it is about tension and atmosphere more so than what actually happens. And occasionally having something dramatic happen that is uh irreversible. Because I think what's scary to me, I think if I really sit and meditate and kind of think back through my life and consider situations I've been in, what's the scariest thing to me is when something happens that there is no going back from. And,
Mm.
death to me as a literary trope, death is almost a metaphor for that feeling, actually, rather than like, I don't know, the other way around or whatever. Just that sense of like, this is the circumstances now, and there is no getting out of it in any way. And
Yeah.
so that if I can capture that sensation, then I feel like I'm onto something.
I'm so glad you said that because for me, the crime genre is scarier in a lot of ways than the horror genre.
Hmm.
Because for me, the absolute and the thing that will almost make me turn a movie off because I can't bear the tension of it, right? Movies like Uncut Gems and shit like that,
Hmm.
is when is gambling. Like when
Yeah.
somebody gets a fat paycheck and they go down and they put all the money down and they know because they've been told, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude, third round he's going down, don't even worry about it.
Right.
And then you see, the third round he doesn't go down and you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Like
No,
it's
dude, Uncut Gems is great. When he takes Kevin Garnett's championship ring and pawns it off or whatever, like
yeah,
that's one of
yeah,
my biggest no moments that
yeah.
I've ever had in a movie. Like, don't do that, don't do that. That's the
Please don't do that. And then at the end, when he has everybody like locked up and he's watching the game, and he has to hit like the parlay has to be perfect for it to work, but it kind of is working.
hmm
But you can tell that the guy who's been locked in that little thing, he's just
Yeah,
stewing there.
it's not gonna happen.
Dude, that is one
Yeah.
of the most, for me, as a person who experiences a lot of anxiety, I have a hard time being scared by scary movies, right?
Mm,
Because of what you said. I'm more looking forward in like a scary movie to the weird imagery. You mentioned Midsummer or Hereditary,
hmm
and those movies are like creepy
Yes.
but like the real scary stuff is human beings, like you said, doing something irreversible
hmm
and just having to figure out what to do next.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about your own life, like what are the situations that have been the worst when the ones that were like, yeah, I don't know how this ends. Like, I don't know how I get out of this. This is
Hmm.
like, this is it's
Yeah.
and I've been in them, not in other people have been in much more serious circumstances, I'm sure, but you get into those moments where you're like, this is the situation and I can't get out of it. All I can do is sort of like endure it, or maybe I can figure a way out of it. Those are that's part of life for sure, but it's also,
Hmm.
God, dude, your palms can get sweaty just thinking back to some of the moments where you felt the most stuck.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think it was interesting too. You were mentioning tension, something that I've noticed. I've been reading a lot of Preston and Child books, which I think you would love. I do think that you would
I
love,
should check those out. I have not
especially,
got around to them.
yeah, if you read Reliquary, the second one, it all takes place in the sewers beneath New York City, and it's got a lot of the history of what's going on down there.
That's cool.
Kind of need to read Relic first, but it's one of those things. But the way that they do tension is so cool because they have multiple characters, sometimes three or four characters going at the same time. And what I noticed is that one character will find something out that's going to drastically affect character B over here. And then we cut to character B, completely
Right.
oblivious, walking
Right.
into a trap,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these writing trope, like not tropes, but techniques, I think they're really simple when you get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you like giving the reader information that the characters don't have. That's tension, pretty much.
Yeah.
The
Dramatic,
driver,
dr dramatic irony, they call it. It works. It works 100% of the time.
yeah, it never doesn't work. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
conflict. I mean,
Hmm.
in co just constant conflict at every level that keeps
Hmm.
people turning pages. That's it. I mean, I was trying to figure out. I don't know if you do this, but I'm very forensic with books that I read. Like it's just
Hmm.
second nature now. I
Yeah.
don't sit down and just read them, just for fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
but yeah, I mean, what makes an author like Michael Crichton or James Patterson work is short chapters that are just full of conflict.
Mhm.
And you just move from conflict to conflict to conflict to conflict, and you
Yeah.
have this machine that just chugs along. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
and the thing is, to me, that conflict is entangled with my fundamental test of whether a book is good or not. I'm getting even actually less and less pretentious as time goes on. My fundamental measure is, do I want to flip the page? Do I want to see what happens on the next page? And if a book can accomplish that, or as a writer, you can accomplish that, you can be as arty as you want to be. You can be as like dumbed down as you can be whatever you want to do, as long to me, for my taste, or the way that I sort of measure these things, as long as the reader wants to flip the next page, that it's good.
hmm yeah, that's
And
pretty much it.
beyond that, it's all pursuing individual interests, philosophical stuff, whatever you want to do, And for me, there's books that are, I mean, I just read book called Stronghold by Dino Buzzati, this 1940 Italian novel. It's sort of this Kafkaesque thing set at this military base. Nothing really happens in the whole book. I was riveted. I don't know
Hmm.
exactly how. I'm still figuring out how Buzzati accomplished this, but like that works. That's good for me. Sounds like this reliquary book would be good for me too, but doing an entirely different thing, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's still
Hmm.
passing. It's still passing that fundamental test. I think there is some stuff that gets sort of give some books nowadays that get the sort of slow clap, if you know what I mean, that don't consider this what I think is the fundamental test of the quality of a story. And I guess
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, it's
Finnegan's
fine.
Finnegan's Wake doesn't pass the test, and I think it's probably a work of genius, though I don't understand it and I've never read it. Uh, I've never read the whole thing, I should say.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think fundamentally for the rest of us down here on Earth,
Yeah,
that's the
right,
test
right,
we
right,
should be
right.
trying to pass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think you're totally right about that. And I think that those books that don't really pass um are they're skirting by on kind of tastemakers who are telling them that that's what you're supposed to like. I saw this thing and this is so bad, but I was watching this TikTok of this bookshop in New York, right?
Mm. Mm.
Staffed by New Yorkers,
I can picture it.
transplants.
Yeah.
Transplants. Yeah, you can picture it.
Yeah.
And they're giving their recommendations, and every book that popped up was like the pastel cover. And when they were asked what the book was about, they were like, it's about an immigrant and their experience. It's fine. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
you almost want to be like, but what happens in the book?
Exactly.
My
Yeah.
my wife loves Ocean Vuong. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get into
Oh
it,
I
man,
tried.
yeah.
you know? Um, but she likes that. You know what? I should talk to her about it and kind of see like where her perspective is coming from because she's somebody who's not captured by anything at all. Like she reads whatever the hell she wants. And she
Mm.
really likes that kind of stuff. And I kind of want to be like what is it about that? I might learn something.
Right.
I don't
I
know.
went
Maybe.
I went
Yeah.
to a talk that Ocean Vuong did like in like I think like October of this year is
Hmm.
promoting whatever the new book is. I forget what it's called. And something that was really interesting is that they're talking about how when they wrote a scene in like the main character is like a bartender or a waiter or something. I don't remember. And they wrote a scene about a like their boss, and their boss was described as this sort of like absurd, funny, like contradictory of a man, and he always had like a radio that played like evangelical like sermons on his hip, and they were like, "Yeah, I didn't include that because it didn't seem real enough." And I was like, "What? That's so." And I haven't read the book, so you know what I mean. Like it may have fit better like in the context, of course. But I was like, "That's so stupid. This is a book. Like you should. That's what you should be doing when you're writing. Like, are you retarded? Like." And that turned me off so hard. But I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
but then in the context of like the book, it may have, you know what I mean. But I was just like, "That's so dumb." But
yeah.
Right.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
you
And
know, like
it does seem like, yeah, it seems what you're saying, I think, is like it does feel like a lot of these authors, I don't know if MFAs do it or what. I've used to shit on MFAs a lot, and I still don't love them because I found out
Yeah.
what you actually do at an MFA, which is you don't actually learn any techniques of how to write a book.
Hmm.
You just kind of critique, and you're
Yeah.
getting critiqued by other people who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
yeah,
Um, which I think it should be much more like a VOTEC, where like you sit down and you're like, this is how this works. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if this like the Carver stuff like just gets ingrained into their brains, but it's
Yeah,
like,
it's still well,
did
I
you get
got
one?
out of my I did. I mean, I was out of my
Boo.
MFA
No.
in 20 I don't say it's a liability in our space for
Yeah,
sure.
no shit, right?
Um uh their Carver stuff is deep, but
Hmm.
I will tell you, I mean, I went to I even hate saying this because I don't want this to be boisterous or anything like that. I went to a really fucking good MFA. I went to
Mm,
University of Texas Michener Center. It's arguably the best
it's a
one.
good
It's
one.
definitely in like the top three or four. And I mean, I got to meet Dennis Johnson,
Yep.
Alan Gurganis, the guy who wrote Confederate, a great book called Oldest Living Confederate Widow Tells All, became a mentor. I met
Hmm.
one of America's greatest poets, who R.I.P. Bridget Jean Kelly, and she,
Hmm.
got her. And so and I did get. You can get the sort of more vocational stuff, but you have to still be in charge of your own education,
Right.
as in
Okay.
my opinion you always do. So it's like you
Hmm.
get the workshop and that's great, but you also need to be like actively working on this stuff and trying to get better, because it's like they're only giving you like, I don't know, two-thirds of the education that you really need to become like max out your potential, and the rest of
Hmm.
it's sort of up to you. But I agree with you. It is a lot of just like critique and criticism and figuring out how to and
And like don't embarrass yourself type shit,
right,
right? Like, oh,
right. There's that for
don't
sure.
be cringe seems to be the
That's
rule of the
that
MFA,
is definitely a rule.
but you
I
should be
learned
cringe.
I learned more from criticizing other people's work than I learned from people criticizing my work. I will
Right.
tell you that.
That
Because I
makes sense.
needed to come up with a
right.
how do I articulate why this doesn't work to me? And so I had to like come up with specific sentences to explain why it didn't work, right? Rather than just being like, I don't like it. I needed to
Hmm.
write 100, 500 words on, not only what doesn't work, but how could you make it better, and also how could you make it better within the vision of the what the thing actually is. And
Right.
so that process I found to be actually super helpful. Other
Hmm.
people's criticisms of stuff were sort of like every once in a while somebody would give you a good idea, but for the most
Hmm.
part I could have taken it or leave it or left it.
Yeah. No, I like that about the about needing to be self-directed with your education. I went to OU and I was like the book that I used in my 30s to figure out how to write properly is
Yeah.
called The Fantasy Fiction Formula by Deborah Chester. She was the creative writing teacher at Gaylord in at the University of Oklahoma. She was there the whole time. She taught Jim
Yeah.
Butcher how to write the Dresden Files. And I was just like I like House of Leaves. I'm gonna figure this shit out,
Right.
you know?
Right.
No
Right. Right. Right.
idea. Like could
Yeah.
have had an actual really cool mentor. So I mean that's
Yeah.
that's part of it. But I think kind of going back to these books, it's like from the cover of The Earthen Dark to the content that's in it. I mean the cover has like a cool pulpy, like the only escape is death type shit.
It's pulpier than the content is, I think,
Then the
but
content is, yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
is. But
Yeah.
be that as it may, be that as it may,
Yeah.
there's still this idea that like you can't do that in these more literary circles because it's cringe, right?
Mhm.
You're supposed to be like a little life and have somebody crying on the cover or whatever, they're in
Right,
pain or something. And
right, right.
I just feel like what's really cool about you and guys like Andy and all these the rare candy dudes, the better than food guy is like none of us are explicitly being like we're bringing back like boobs and swords and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right, right, right.
But that lane for a while was pretty tough to find, It was
Mm,
like nobody kind of wanted to do these things that were whether, like an MK Ultra book or
right.
guys, in a shitty tunnel encountering an eldritch horror type thing,
Right, right,
And I'm
right,
just
right.
super fucking stoked that it feels like that's back and that it's back and it's not uh like transgressive or putting a finger in someone's eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I outgrew all my transgressive tendencies. Not all. I outgrew most of my transgressive tendencies, or that's how I perceive it anyway. I mean, a lot of my early stuff was like a lot of drugs and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that as like a topic area, but like I'm well into my 40s now, man. Like, you know, I, I still dabble in a thing or two here and there, but I don't party anymore. I don't like, you know what I mean? My taxes, I'm filing my taxes next week. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
dude. As
much,
soon as
I'm
the
like a,
doors open, pretty much.
yeah, I'm like a grown ass man at this
I
point.
was
And
like,
so,
I didn't realize
yeah,
because I was going to do that too, and I was like, wait, you can't just file them now. Like you got to wait. Like the
yeah.
doors aren't open yet. That was
Yeah.
weird to me. But sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so like the transgressive stuff, it's not really my métier anymore, but I did exist in that space for a while and there's I think there are other ways to be transgressive. And I think what you're talking about is sort of that. Like, yeah, let's like I fucking love pulp. I love the
Yeah,
old pulp stuff. I really do. And so let's do something with that. But maybe we can, you know, maybe we can bring like the whole MFA thing, the taint that it has put on American letters is real. The flip side of that is that some of the stuff that's sort of MFA coded on a prose level, sentence to sentence, is banger. And
yeah.
so it's like,
Hmm.
can we bring that sort of level of like careful poetic concern? Can we bring that to like shit that's rad?
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, dude, you're speaking my fucking
That's
language right now,
yeah,
man. Yeah, yeah,
that's sort of like my project, I guess, if I
yeah.
have like an overall arching project.
Our project's
Uh,
Ducktail, bro, because
Yeah.
yeah, I
I.
would say you both are successful in that. In the
Yeah.
end, I
Oh, thanks,
felt
man.
that several
Fuck yeah.
times. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it's
man.
like I want to be able to take the literary and film influences that I think are cool, which include things like splatterpunk and I come from the Bizarro clique,
Hmm.
right? Those were my dudes for like 10 years, right? And they're writing books like The Faggiest Vampire and like Cripple Wolf and shit like that. And and I'm coming out of that, right? And it's a lot of like talking dicks and like
Right.
there's a book called Shatner Quake, which is about a Star Trek convention where a rift in time opens and all these different versions of William Shatner from all his different shows and
That's
movies comes through.
that's pretty
Uh,
cool. Yeah.
and it's great, but the
Yeah.
writing's not
Yeah.
good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the whole thing that I was thinking is like that kind. Another writer who's really good, who I don't know if you've read, is Cody Goodfellow. So
That name rings a bell, but I haven't no.
that's my dog. We co-wrote a book together called The Snake Handler, and it's kind of like DOA, where like this snake handling preacher in Appalachia, who's also involved in the local drug trade, runs afoul of a Mexican cartel, and they put a snake in his mailbox. So the
Hell
first
yeah.
scene is he opens the mailbox, the snake bites him, and he has one day before the venom kills him to like set everything right. But
Hell
Cody
yeah.
Goodfellow writes books like Repo Shark, which is basically if you took Ninja from DeAntword and made him into a repo man who has to repossess a Harley from a wereshark. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
his prose is fucking the best, like the
That's
best,
awesome.
the
Yeah,
most
yeah, no, I would totally
readable.
check that out. I'll
And
totally
he's
check
also
that
like an
out.
extra in everything. Like he lives in LA, and
Okay.
for a while he had what's that director's name who did like he was going to do the Island of Dr. Moreau, but it fell apart.
Oh, Richard Stanley.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Richard Stanley lived in a hammock in his backyard for a while. And so he ran in some these
no
crazy
shit.
circles. But I remember, yeah, when I met him at a comic like a the whatever the comic book convention, the big one in LA. And yeah, we just became like good
Hell yeah.
buds. And but
Yeah.
he's that guy. Jeremy Robert Johnson is one of those guys. Um, and unfortunately, Jeremy, I don't know where he is or what he's doing.
Mm.
Um, but Stephen Graham Jones is another that comes to mind too, where he's written, 40 books and they're about everything from like Zombie Bake Off is about this wrestling convention and this baking convention. They booked the same arena. And so like basically
Right.
and then a zombie outbreak happens. And so it's
Yeah.
like grandma baking grandmas and pro wrestlers versus zombies. But the prose is crazy. The prose is
Right.
really fucking
Yeah.
good. So this
Yeah.
has been kind of happening, I think, under the surface
Mhm.
for years and years and years. But right now, it feels like we're in this kind of moment where we have these kind of podcasts like yours and Rare Candy and Better Than
Mhm.
Food, and hopefully this one, I'd like to build this one up to that
Yeah.
point that is pushing this like we can have pulp that is fun, but that
Mm.
also isn't written like shit. Which
Right.
it used to
Right.
be like a trait, you had to do one or the other.
Well, that's like, I mean, there's a couple of my writers who are the favorite writers. I mean, one of my favorite what ifs in the history of literature is what if Philip K. Dick had an editor?
Mm,
You
hmm.
know, he's a genius. He's an absolute genius. But like, man, there's some paragraphs in there where you're like, God damn, dude, this
Yeah.
is
That's so
this is
true.
like, if I were making a magazine and you sent me this, I'd be like, man, I don't know about this. It's a
Yeah.
little, but he was a genius. He was a creative genius. He was tapped into something that, I can only hope to be tapped into. But yeah, no, I think there is something to that. I think, uh, and I think the thing about that is like if you do that long enough, it it has to get noticed on some level, right? It
Mhm.
just it can't not eventually. I hope anyway. That's what I
I
think.
think no, I think you're right. I think that I just don't think I don't think it's been tried yet. And I think that I think Steven is probably the best example of somebody who's now currently very successful, who
Hmm.
kind of started that way and just through sheer mass of the amount of work that he put out. Now, I mean,
Uh,
The Only Good Indians was his big breakout book, right?
that's
And
the one I'm
now
familiar with. Yeah.
and but before that, he was doing shit with the Bizarros, like hanging out at Bizarro Con because he wrote a book about uh what was it? It came from Del Rio, which was like a rabbit that was also an alien, I think, or something like that.
Right
But
on. Yeah.
I just yeah, I think that here's the trap that writers fall into is that I don't think they write enough. I think that's the problem. I think that part of what we have to do, like me, you, Nikki, everybody who's in this, I don't think we can do a book every couple years. I think there needs to be more. I know that's a little controversial, but
Yeah.
I think
I
there
agree
has to
with
be
that. I
volume.
think uh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. What do you think,
Um,
Brad?
I mean, I agree with that in concept, but man, I'm so slow. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
it's
also
just like
pretty
I don't know
slow.
if I don't know that I could live up to that. But I don't think you're wrong at the same
Hmm.
time. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's just
Right.
like, dude, and part of it is, other doing other stuff that, my podcast takes time and,
Hmm.
family, job, etc. And so the writing happens every day, but it could take, it only gets as much time as I have for it in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I do think you're right. I mean,
What if you just stopped having a family and then you could
right. Yeah, right. Easy, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
but
but yeah, so my like only the I don't know that I could do that, I guess, just
hmm
because I guess I am getting a little faster as time goes on because my edits are getting are getting more efficient. But still, yeah, I don't know. I have to like gestate on shit for a while.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I do you? Let's get into it. Do you though?
Maybe I don't. I don't
Really?
know.
Like
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really. I mean, let's
Yeah,
talk.
but
Like, do you?
how much do you end up like changing after you just like what? That's a good.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's interesting.
a fair amount. I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to quantify, but most of the Earthen Dark went through like 8 to 12 drafts with, you
Wow.
know, diminishing changes. By the
Sure,
end, you're just
sure.
changing little shit for sure. But early on, it's pretty. I mean, I rewrote the ending 5 or 6 times. Wrote the
Yeah.
last like 15 pages, it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. I drank a bunch of ayahuasca. I figured it out.
Did you
Wrote back and
really?
wrote that like 3 times.
Actually,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to that, but
Yeah. So there is, I mean, there is a fair amount of change for me, and I like to allow that process to happen to a certain degree. I would have loved to have written it take 1 year off the time it took me. That would have been great. But
Mhm.
yeah, it just doesn't seem like my brain works that way. I don't know.
Interesting. What
Yeah.
about so your next one, this True Detective one?
Hmm.
And this is what I do, right?
Yeah.
I think about it in terms of the stakes of my different projects. So like God's Fear No Better to me, that was a big book for me. That took like
Hmm.
3 years and a bunch of time and a bunch of drafts. Like I don't think I got to eight. I think five was as far as I got. And it was the diminishing returns thing too, where the fourth and fifth
Yeah.
drafts were like fixing the ending, basically.
Right.
But then I got to Berserker Club and it's not that I don't care about the book, but I was kind of like, this is like lower stakes.
Mm.
So what if there was a process where you have like the Earthen Dark, which is going to take its time and you're going to let that
Mm.
gestate, but then at the same time you're going to be like, I brought this up on
It's an interesting approach.
yeah, yeah,
the
I can't
way
remember who I brought this up with, but I was kind of like I want to oh, it was with Kelby the last time we were talking, Nikki. It was like what about releasing books that you just kind of think are okay?
well that's that
Right? That's good.
when I write, I like to have the main book. Like I try to write by having like a set amount of words a day. So I have my main book, and then I have like my like burnout book that I write so that I don't get bored with the main book. And then so it's kind of like you know what I mean. That is way more low stakes because it just literally exists
Yeah.
to be like have
Right.
I may never do something with it, or it may end up being like I might really like it. But I think
So
that
is
That's a
this
cool
like
idea.
disgusting to you, Brad, or do you see
No,
where it's
no,
coming
I
from?
have multiple projects going on simultaneously too, man. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stakes thing, man, I don't know, man. It would take me a little bit of effort and time and thought to get around to being like not treating the thing I'm about to put out as like super fucking important, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But part
Yeah.
of that is like just me trying to me, I guess, just trying to like make sure it feels worth doing or something, you
No, I
know?
get that. I get that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is too is that your process is clearly working. So I mean, it's working for you. But like, I guess my whole thing is that for me, I feel almost like I'm in a kind of service industry, and
Mm,
I don't know what people are going to like. I know what's
that's true.
objectively good. I know if I've written a good sentence or a bad sentence, and I know if I've been sloppy with the plot or not. There are all these, things that I can check that I know work or don't work. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that fifth revision that I did made the book better. Like
Right. That's
like
true. Yeah.
I'm not sure. And so
Yeah.
with different books, there's just different levels of that where I'm like with Berserker Club, I was very open about this. I was like, is this my best book? No. No. It's like maybe not even my I don't think it's
I'm
my
enjoying
second
it.
best
I'm
book.
But it
about
kind of
halfway through it. I'm
is.
enjoying the hell out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, but this is my point, right? It's
Yeah.
like
That's what I'm
at the end of
saying.
the
It's
day,
like
like you're
your
enjoying it.
artists are like, I recorded that song in 2 minutes. I freestyle. Didn't even think about it. And it'd be
Exactly.
like their
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that like fine line of like effort and not putting too much. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There's just like the intention of like I don't know. That's really interesting. I
Yeah.
think it's harder to sustain in writing just because you're putting more effort overall into it. But I think there is definitely something to that in a way.
Yeah.
What's good,
Yeah.
Kelby?
What's going on?
Have you met
Yep.
Brad?
Yeah, Brad's
Yeah.
been on the show before.
Yeah.
What?
Kevin and
Just,
I. Yeah. Yeah. It was
it
like
was
two
when you
years
were
ago.
dead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't remember it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Right,
was
right.
in
Yeah.
the JDO is dead arc.
I thought it was one of those things that I actually forgot and I was going to be very embarrassed. Uh,
No, but that was a couple of years. Yeah, that was a couple of years ago at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
what
What's
did you think,
good?
Kelby? What'd you think of the book?
I got 50 pages left, but it's fucking I can't wait to get to the end. I was honestly like, do I just kind of bail on the podcast so I can finish reading this? Um like
Awesome.
it's so that's my endorsement. That's my sales pitch endorsement of it. It's no, it's really good shit, bro. And
Hell yeah.
I
Thanks, man.
fucking love from both a writing perspective and the blue collar down in the dirt perspective. I appreciate the like level of detail to the work that the dudes are doing in the book and also the language of it. Like I love that specificity of not to be the pros podcast because that don't sell books, but just just from one writer to another, like it's fucking bars.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man. That
We were
means a
just in
lot
the
to me.
process
Thanks,
of
dude.
telling Brad that he should stop doing that and just write books faster.
Just churn it out as fast as
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
thanks, dude. That means a lot to me, man. Because I respect both of you guys a lot. So this means a lot. And Nikki, I haven't read any of your stuff yet, man. I'm
Oh
sure you're the
no, no
shit.
worries,
Yeah.
bro. That was my first
Oh,
of yours, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
my
Thanks, dude.
daughter's calling me. I'll be right back.
all right, dude. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess where it comes from for me is I became fascinated with the PKDs of the world and like
Hmm.
this kind of like pulp, like this ability to churn things out quickly became kind of fascinating to me. It still doesn't really work because I mean, there are people, I don't know, do you know much about like the indie scene like horror scenes or anything like
Not
that?
really. No, I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. So there are
Yeah.
guys who are putting out books like every month.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
it's like this time somebody gets raped with a frozen dog turd. That's a thing. That's an actual thing. And they're making a lot of money. How much do you think about money when you think about these books and success and
I,
sales and things like that?
dude, I wouldn't say zero, but like um I know that whatever the thing I'm putting out doesn't fit into the slots where money is made.
Yeah.
So I kind of know that I'm not going to make any money.
Right.
Like, you know, um, but the hope is it's like each project, maybe does make a little bit more money and maybe gets a little bit more attention and whatever. But like, I kind of gave up any notion that I'm gonna, uh, even though it's sort of the dream, I kind of gave up any notion that I'm gonna like make a living off of selling books. It's just not gonna happen. There's just not the market for it, and I can't churn them out fast enough. Um, and Yeah, yeah. So the answer is somewhat, and yet I guess I've also become kind of realistic about that. But I
Sure.
want to write. Dude, like the other thing is like I have if the whole thing was just to try and make money,
Hmm.
I have work experience and skills and maybe even a talent or two in which it's a lot easier to make money than by doing this. And
Sure.
so that's what I'm gonna do. Like if I need money, I guess is the other side of it.
We're so eye to eye on that too.
Yeah.
Because I finally got good at a thing.
Hmm.
And now I have money. Not a lot, but
Yeah.
I'm also not like terrified all the time.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just kind of the same thing. Now I'm like, it's really freeing, right? You're like, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
cool because I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about like, oh, but it's crazy to me. There are a lot of writers exist that think about that. They're like, what are the tropes of my genre? And and that to me would like make my dick go so limp. I like
Yeah,
Hmm.
wouldn't
but
be
don't.
able to do it.
But if you think about like certain craft things and like
Sure.
you like stuff like that and thinking about it and like coming at it with your like you might not I'm like this too like you might not agree with it but
Sure.
that energizes me too you know if even if it's like a something I think is really stupid I'm like and so I don't know what you don't
I
you
just
don't
mean
think
like
about it in
the
that rigid way though really
no, I mean I think like what I mean is
or
that I
like
will
if
hear
you feel like you
people
have to do it. Are you
yeah,
saying
like
these
there'll be
people
some
feel like
people
they
who will be
have to?
like they'll be like, I have a 7 book series and I know that I have to have this
Yeah.
happen in book 3 and that
Right.
Yeah.
like when
True.
this and then when I do and then I'll do another and I'm like, are you having fun? Like,
Yeah. Because
this a
like
cool
market
thing?
analysis shows that this thing, if you do it there, yeah, no,
Right,
I don't
right.
know, man. It's that you do have to like balance this stuff to a certain degree because like I do think about a reader when I'm writing,
Hmm,
right?
hmm.
Like trying to make a cool experience for a reader. That's part of the game. That's part of the art form. That's part of what's interesting about it to me is sort of trying to figure that out. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Fundamentally, if I were, yeah, it really does kind of come back to this thing. Like there are way easier ways to make money. Um, and now that doesn't mean I'm just going to necessarily give everything away for free, or whatever all the
Well,
time,
that's
or
bad.
not care at
You have to
all.
pay for a
Right.
tarot reading. Like it's
Yeah.
bad to not
Yeah.
pay for one.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Exactly. Which
it's
I give tarot readings, by the way, and I do charge for
that's
them.
I did that on purpose because I wanted to segue into that. Uh,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
tell us about your because I think this is fascinating. Tell us about like your spiritual practice, the tarot,
Sure.
and I want to know, does this uh, dovetail with the writing? Do you think writing
Yeah.
fits in there somewhere?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, yeah, so I got obsessed with tarot like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. And I needed to figure out what it was and what it was doing. And I still don't exactly know what it's doing other than it works. And that in and of itself is interesting. It's definitely related to writing in that, I mean, I just gave a reading for somebody today. I don't do as many of them as I would like to. But I mean, fundamentally, you're randomizing these cards and you're putting them out and you're trying to tell the person as a reader who someone's coming to, you're trying to tell the person a story about them right now in the abstract using these cards. That's fundamentally what the art of being a tarot reader is about, weaving together the many possible interpretations of these cards in a way that is somehow personally meaningful to the person that you're reading it to. So there is like this storyteller element to it, um, that I find super appealing and like good practice or whatever. But I also think like there's some real wisdom in there once you start to understand what the cards mean and how they relate to each other that I take a bunch of stuff from and I've found to be super helpful in my life. And anytime a big thing is coming up, I will throw a tarot card reading, which is basically like, how should I be thinking about this thing? And
Mm,
it
hmm,
always
hmm.
gives me it always points me in the direction of something that I wasn't considering, something that I hadn't seen, something in me subconsciously that I wasn't totally aware of that might be a limitation or whatever. It's fundamentally like I have some woo-woo perspectives on it because like
Hmm,
I do
hmm.
think like I don't think anything is actually random.
Yeah.
So
I
so
think it's an
there's
alien
that.
intelligence, but yeah, 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 yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And but so I do think there is something to that, it not being random and this being some kind of message from your subconscious or an alien entity or something. Uh but there's the way that it fundamentally works is you remember those like I mean you remember those magic eye things you'd see at like the dentist and you like squint your eyes or you cross your eyes and you can see the image underneath it.
Hmm.
What tarot does is it's that's a metaphor for what it's doing to you and your own like subconscious. It's just allowing you to like actually get a glimpse of what's going on in your own head because you're trying to apply your in the moment life to a story that's being presented to you. So that's like fundamentally how it works. So I use it as a way to figure out what's going on in my own head, fundamentally.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so yeah, is that a spiritual practice or not? I don't really know. I kind of think it is for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
100% is. Yeah, no, absolutely. I
yeah,
think that when I say it's an alien intelligence, I don't mean grays, right?
yeah,
I
right.
mean that I think story is an intelligence, and I think
Hmm.
that these things. This is very Earth and Dark, by the way. I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
think that these things come up out of the ground and that they are in buildings and landscapes and weather and things like that. I'm an
Yeah.
animist,
Yeah.
essentially. That's my
Mhm.
spiritual practice. I think some rocks are much cooler than other rocks,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
but but with the tarot, what I think is what's so interesting about it is that it does seem to speak, and like when you get the kind of new atheist perspective on stuff like this, it's like, well, it's just you projecting whatever you wanted to
Right.
already, maybe, but it doesn't
Right.
feel like that.
No,
I
it
Yeah,
doesn't
mean,
feel
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
but
I try to present it when I give readings to people. I try to present it in that way
mhm,
as though, hey, these are just cards that we're looking at. And then
mhm,
I sort of allow them to apply whatever, like,
yep,
whatever their idea, understanding of reality is. I allow them to apply it to that sort of in a way. Because I don't want to be have any sort of dogma, and I want to be able to like, I want people who are like strict rationalist materialist atheists to be able to get something out of it and people who are like Orthodox Christians to get something out of it. And I think
right,
both
right,
of them
right.
can.
I think so
So,
too. I
yeah.
absolutely do. And I think that's so interesting that you said that too, because it's a shamanistic role. And
Mhm.
I think that shamanism, when it's done correctly, is interpretive to the person who it's being given to. And
Mhm.
I think that also, for me at least, and I'm sure for you, because you're way more into tarot than I am, that affects how I interact with story. Because I think of story, capital S story, as a living thing, right? And
Yeah.
I'm out here, like when I go into my subconscious or whatever, I'm out there trying to wrangle pieces of a thing that I can then put into a story and present to
Mhm.
people without articulating things. And what I think has
Yeah.
been happening, I think a lot more authors used to think that way, whether they were Christian or something weirder than that. I
Yeah.
think a lot more
Yeah.
of them understood story as this like Stephen Pressfield is the closest kind of modern guy who is
Yeah.
like, no, there's the muse and it's real. It's a thing
Right.
that exists.
Right.
But I think that your connection of tarot to storytelling, which then kind of affects your storytelling, is
Yeah.
100% correct. But I guess I would go another woo further. I'd add an extra woo to the woo woo and be like, no,
I'm into that.
it's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
it's a real thing. So what I'm curious about is what kind of, if you are comfortable sharing, you don't have to, like what kind
Yeah.
of tarot stuff you did with Earth and Dark.
Well, yeah, I did a bunch. The biggest thing was I needed to pick a 3 or 4 card stretch of the Major Arcana or the Fool's Journey to provide the very basic structure of the narrative. So, at a very, very, very basic level, what sequential 3 or 4 cards are going to determine the nature of the story. And those were the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, Hanged Man, and Death. And so with those 4 cards, they all have their own individual crises and meaning,
Yeah.
and they also have a transition into the next one, and which has its own meaning and crisis, and then they transition to the next one, and they all have a sort of coherent arc individual to them, but all together they create an arc as well. So that was basically one thing, right? It needs to have those 4 elements. Most people might not even see them. There are some overt clues that that's what's going on, but there are much subtler things that I'm not sure that anybody would necessarily notice.
Crazy that it ended on death, right? That's
Yeah.
spooky.
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right.
So that becomes, and then, ends up being on the cover. It's only escapable by death. Right. And so then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what does death even mean? Um, so that was definitely one thing. I gave Jim, the main character, as well as some other characters, a handful of tarot readings, which I know seems like
Oh,
talking to
let's
your imaginary
go.
friends,
No, no, this is
but
this is my shit.
Yeah, this
yeah,
is
it gives
really
them,
interesting.
it just adds dimension and texture and like starts making things pop, and it starts to give them a little bit of a subconscious
Hmm.
layer to them, things
Sure.
that they're not aware of that are affecting them. It starts to kind of color in those spaces and give you some kind of footholds to getting what their deal is. And then there was just like a lot of there was a lot of uh, I don't know if a handful of times gave myself tarot readings in which the question was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
then getting some insight into what's going on in my own head that way and being
What
like,
did it
oh,
tell you?
okay. Well, uh, I guess I don't even know if I necessarily even remember the specifics at this point. I mean, part of it was, uh, well, I sort of did make this move to, um, the move to put this Jim character originally, the early drafts of it they were all just blue collar dudes working on this crew, and I eventually added this Jim character, who's the main character, who's this academic. I had some questions about that, like whether that made sense or not, and so got some
Hmm.
insights that that would actually be not only a way for some readers to be able to access it, but was a way for me to be able to access what was going on a little bit
Oh,
more
right.
clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that would be one example. And then another one was just, at some point reasonably early in the process, I was like, is this fucking stupid? Is this like, should I
Uh,
just give up on this now
Yeah,
before I
yeah.
waste another, 2 years or whatever?
Sure,
And
sure.
got some guidance of like, yeah, it is kind of stupid, but the point is you're trying to make it like not that. Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
could
yeah.
go off the rails completely, and sort of your job is to kind of shepherd this thing along or whatever.
What is the
Yeah.
like what's the spookiest tarot reading you've ever given where you thought like this thing is
Hmm.
alive?
Yeah.
Even if you later on rationalize it or whatever, right? But like in the moment you're
Yeah,
like, this is
yeah.
fucking weird.
Yeah, there's been they haven't been so much for me because I've gotten really comfortable with that stuff, but for other people, um I gave a reading to somebody once who was trying to sort something out with their I don't know if they were divorced and still or they were thinking about getting divorced. I don't remember the specifics, but and how I do it when I give a reading for somebody, I don't have them ask me anything. They don't say anything about what they're thinking about. It's none of that. It's I'm just going to tell you what the cards are saying, and maybe I pick up some intuitive stuff. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Um, and and at one point in this reading, her trying to figure something out with either her husband or her ex-husband, I threw this card down, the moon card, and for whatever reason, I really tied into the wolf that's on the moon card, and I don't
Mm.
even couldn't even tell you why, but I was like
And
hammering this
in the
point.
moon,
Yeah.
is that where the women are pouring water
No,
or
that's the star. The
the
moon is you've
star?
got
Okay.
two towers in the background, and there's in many of the traditional decks, there's a wolf and a dog sort of howling
Oh,
at the
okay.
moon.
Okay,
And
gotcha,
anyway,
gotcha.
I started hammering this point about the wolf, and it turned out that this girl, she might even be listening to this, so shout out if you are. And I'm not going to say who you are because that's like attorney-client privilege or something.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
And it turned out that they had one of the conflicts between them is if I remember right, they had a business together that was called Wolf something. And I was just
Ah,
like
cool, cool.
hammering this point about how like figuring
Yeah.
out what to do with the wolf and all of this was like part of figuring out this problem that you're dealing with. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I got all caught up in talking about the wolf or whatever. And there
Yeah.
was another one. This was when I was first starting to read, because I spent a lot of time studying the tarot before I ever gave anybody a reading. I wanted to get to the point where I felt fairly confident that
Right.
I'm not gonna like have to like look something up on my phone or whatever. Um, I gave a reading to this girl, a friend of my brother's wife and it turned out I was getting a lot of stuff about like this again. I'd never asked her anything about her personal life. We're gonna read the cards. And I didn't know her very well at all. And it got into something really about like conflict with a male thing and conflict with sort of masculinity in and of itself and these sort of warped perspectives about like what it meant to be interacting with a person of the opposite sex and how you partner and whatever. And she ended up getting a divorce, like filing for divorce like a week later. Because like
Yee.
I was speaking right to this conflict that she was having
Wow.
and kind of cracked it open. And I don't take any credit for that. It's just like I was there sort of. But
Right, 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 right,
yeah,
right. That's what's so cool
yeah.
about the tarot to me is I like Camellia Elias a lot. I like to read
Mm,
her Substack, and her whole thing is read the damn cards, and she's very
hmm.
straightforward, and she uses like the playing cards for her
Yeah,
tarot,
you can do that
um,
for sure.
and she's mystical. She's woo about it for sure. You have to be a little bit to be doing tarot, but she's very much just like I put the cards down and I tell you what I see.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
And
yeah.
more often, and it's almost like this relates to writing to me in such a crucial way because if you approach a project, let's say you're doing a tarot, right? And you put down three cards or four or whatever, and
Yeah.
you start using your brain to be like, okay, what could this possibly mean? And they came in and they were
Yeah.
favorite, like you're trying to like Sherlock Holmes it and be like, what's
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
cold reading or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
then you
Right. Right.
find out I had one night and I had no I'd been listening to Camellia Elias. This was like 10 years ago. I was in El Paso and it was my wife's birthday. She had all these people over. And I had this little deck of cards and I had listened to her on like the Rune Soup podcast, which is another great. If you
Oh yeah.
haven't heard it, then
No, I know Reed Soup. It's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had one episode on there. I talked about the Invisibles. It's one of the highlights of my podcasting
That's
career.
awesome. Yeah.
Uh, but so I was like, I'll give it a shot, whatever, right? And I was going in there with her attitude of like, just read what you see, kind of like what you were talking about.
Mhm.
And so all these friends of my wife were out back, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And people were like and I was just saying what I saw, right?
Mhm.
I was not extrapolating anything from that at all. It's like, well, this
Yeah.
seems to tell a story that goes like this. I was a little drunk, but
No, no, you that's better.
yeah, right? Because
Seriously. Like
you're getting out of the
I'm
way.
normally sober when I do them for sure. Like because I'm doing them I mean, I did one today at like noon. I'm not gonna like
Sure.
whatever.
Drink
But like
to
no,
be
the
good at it.
ideal thing is smoke a little smoke, maybe have a drink or two. Like you
Sure.
want to be loosened up for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
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 But
But
and it works so well. And I think again, like just to relate this back to writing, things like blocks and all this kind of they come when we're like if you sit down and you're thinking like, I need to turn this into a thing,
mhm.
right? Like I know I see the end and I'm in the middle and I need to get to that end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you just let the signs come and like with
Right.
right and it leads to like some really weird places. Like I had for Berserker Club I had written a script for low res and it was too crazy whatever like they couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But so I had the script in front of me and I knew what I had done with that one, but I just kind of forgot what I did and just started and it kind of works, dude. It's like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now I'm doing this opposite thing with this outline, but I'm trying not to let that kind of get in the way because I do think there's a lot of wisdom
That
in this tarot. Like
Yeah. Well,
just good.
that is where the magic is. Well, and you know what's interesting is there are a handful of like sort of quotable wisdoms that you can take from the tarot itself. Like there's not like a doctrine to the whole thing, but there are some things that kind of repeatedly come up in the patterns that it presents. And one of them is like be wary of putting too much reliance on the rational mind. Just like make sure that you know that the problem solving part of your mind is working for you, not the other way around. And
Mm,
so, you know what I mean?
hmm.
So, yeah, a lot of times, yeah, writing whatever else, sometimes you do kind of have to like actually like scratch your head and like get technical with it. But like,
Sure.
the guidance from the tarot or whatever would be like really what you want to do is get to the point where you trust your gut. And that takes a little bit of time. Our your intuitions do get tuned by the experiences of your life, so they're not always correct.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
And so it takes sometimes you have to like unlearn some of that shit, right?
Hmm.
Like like one of the good examples of this is, and I tell this to people all the time if I'm reading tarot, is like think about the difference between not doing something because it's dangerous and not doing something because you're afraid. You see people all the time who are afraid of stuff that's not dangerous, and that's a stupid reason to not do something.
Hmm.
Not doing something because it's actually dangerous is like a pretty legit reason not to do it. But
Sure.
not doing it because you're afraid doesn't necessarily mean that it's dangerous, right? And so
Right.
the tuning, like one of the things that comes out of the tarot is like trying to tune your intuition to that stuff so that you are basing your decision on, in that case, it's dangerous, not I'm afraid.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's great for making art too, right?
Hmm.
There's nothing
Hmm.
really to be afraid of,
Not really.
you
No.
know, but I don't know about you, but I experience
Yeah.
fear sometimes when I'm writing.
Sure.
I'll be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
ah, man. But it's all ego-based bullshit. It's
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
nonsense. It's if I
Yeah.
write this, people are gonna think that it's
Right.
stupid. And I'm
My
I'm in my 40s now too, so I
yeah.
that luckily I've moved past a lot of that.
My biggest fear is I would say in the creative realm now is I mean I'm a little afraid that people won't like it or whatever, but that doesn't it's not like paralyzing. But my biggest fear is that I'll end up spending a lot of time on a dead end, what I determine to be a dead end later
Sure.
on.
Yeah.
That's what I get a little bit afraid of.
Because we
You
don't
know, that
have a whole lot of time
yeah,
anymore.
you spent a year and a half, and I have 500-page drafts of stuff that's I just decided sucked, and I didn't do
Yeah.
anything with, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm trying not to ever do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think somebody who really helped me with this is kind of what got this whole podcast started, which is somebody like Takashi Miike. Specifically, what I admire about his work ethic that I've read about in, his journals for the films that he's made, et cetera, is that he comes across as somebody who is very concerned with making sure that he's creating something of quality that people are going to get something out of, but who kind of has an attitude of I'm going to approach every project with this set of attitudes and parameters and due diligence that I'm going to do on my end, but that I can't what I think about it when it's done is almost irrelevant. Like I've done the
Right.
work and now the movie comes out. And sometimes
Right.
that manifests in him being very candid about some that didn't really work. But because he's in
Sure.
film, he's part of this process that involves a lot of money and
Yeah.
investment and actors who've worked on it and the crew and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And reading his work, they're very Zen-like. He's like, I just every day I show up and I try to do my best, but then somehow also separating yourself from the final product of
Right.
that push
Right.
is very compelling. I'm not there,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I want to be
Gosh,
there.
that's got to be particularly difficult for a film director. I mean, I've always thought that like the greatest film directors have all of the, artistry and creativity of, name another sort of artist, but they're also like they also have the thing where they could like lead a platoon into battle or like lead a
Mhm.
business or something. Like they have that
Right. Yeah.
extra thing that I don't think that I have, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I bet I could if I dedicated the rest of my life to it, I could learn like all the technical shit and figure out how to do it. But in terms of like leading this entity, I don't think I got that in me. I
True.
think I
Yeah.
would I
Yeah.
think I would overthink everything and I would be like, oh, I pissed that person off and this person doesn't like me. I think I would just collapse under that pressure ultimately. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm a novelist. I just do my thing in the basement, when I know everybody's asleep, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, you could only really, yeah, that is something that's fun about ours is that at the end of the day, we could really just disappoint ourselves and
Right.
readers,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever been in a like a synchronicity storm where syncs are happening left and right?
Yeah. I've definitely had a lot of synchronicities for sure. I don't know that I could say that I've been in one where it's like one's changed to the next necessarily.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. That's something that I'm
Yeah.
going to be basically something I
What
want to
is
do with
a,
this
a
podcast.
s-
Oh, a sync storm is like so synchronicity is popularized by Carl Jung, but the idea
right?
of a synchronicity is that it's the universe talking to you, right? When you're on the right path
I
or the
assume a
wrong path,
storm is just like it keep
it's a
happening, but
bunch,
Happened.
right?
Tons of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just
is there any technique to like make that happen, like bring
not
that
that I
on?
know of. When they've happened
Yeah.
to me, they've just kind of happened, but they've all circled around major kind of life events,
Mm-hmm.
nodes, right? I
Mm-hmm.
call them nodes in my life. But I am very interested in the connection of uh, not spirituality necessarily, but magic, the occult, like weirdo shit and writing because
Yeah.
I mean Alan Moore said it, right? Like spelling is called spelling for a
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
and words are
Yeah.
weird and
Yeah.
it's just
It's
interesting to
it's
me.
it is ma I mean it is magic in a way for sure, and that's
Hmm.
not trying to like oversell it or overhype it or something, right? But fundamentally it's very much the same. I mean, the in the tarot, the magician card So tarot includes these like multiple narrative the major arcana you can overlay these multiple narratives over top of it, right? And one of them that you can overlay on top of it is the development of a human being from infancy or birth to um, death fundamentally and all of
Right,
these
right,
charts.
right.
And interestingly enough, death is actually the 13th card. But you can chart a
Mhm.
person's life on this in a pattern at the pattern level, at the narrative level. And the magician, the first thing, which is card number one, it's the fundamental, the sort of wisdom, the lesson that's learned in the magician is the ability to take what's in your head and make it a real thing. And babies learn this. Like, think about that. Like, a baby wants milk, right? A little baby wants milk. They want food. And they figure out how to turn that desire into milk in their belly by
Oh,
this communicating.
yeah,
They
yeah.
cry, they make this
Right.
noise, and eventually they figure out how to make that desire in their head a thing that is actually met. And that fundamental pattern is like a thing that all humans do in a bunch of ways. And writing is like that refined, like sort of distilled down. You're taking the thing that's sort of coming up in your head and you're turning it into words on the page, and then those words on the page are turning back into the thing in your head in somebody else's head. That's sort of what's
Hmm.
happening. It's inherently like a magical with a K process, and in my perspective, yeah,
Yeah, and it's like I love that. That's awesome.
yeah,
I'm gonna remember that for sure.
yeah.
And it's also just like, I'm sitting in a room. I'm in my house. I'm in Oklahoma, and my wife is making chicken soup, and uh, I'm looking at these words on my phone. I read most of it on my phone, and I'm feeling all of these things, right? And I want to say this, and this is the biggest pitch that I could give for this, but like everybody who's listening to this, like you have to read this book. This book, and in a very tarot-esque way, I get the impression from earlier parts of our conversation that this was not your intention. But this book, with some of my own kind of mental difficulties, life difficulties, things like that, I walked away and from this book feeling like I had almost tools because of the story to go after it. Again, we're a little hamstrung because we can't talk about the end,
Right,
but
right,
what
right.
happens at the end, broadly speaking, literally helped me with a mental thing that I'm going
That's
through right
awesome.
now. That's as vague as I can make it.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's
that's
going to do
that's
that for everybody. I'm not saying this is
sure.
like, how to win friends and influence
Right.
people,
Right, right, right,
It's
right.
it's a story, but this is the power of it. And we were joking earlier about how much time was spent on this, and a part of me thinks that the more time you spend on it, the more magic can get infused in the book.
I kind of think
Um,
so. Yeah.
and so it that doesn't happen to like I don't say this to all the girls, right? But like that I don't walk away from every book feeling that kind of thing. But it's a story about guys in a sewer who encounter an eldritch entity that sends them to different realms of reality, essentially. And it's
Mhm.
not preachy. It's never really telling you what to think about all this. That's part of the horror aspect of it. But by the end of it, I had a literal tool that I can take forward in my life
Wow.
and help
That's
myself
cool.
with. Yeah.
That's rad. I mean, that definitely is not the intention, but
Yep.
well, but I think it probably comes across because honestly, I think I was figuring some shit out through the process of writing this book
Right.
and so I think some of that probably sneaks in there for sure. And that's really cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad that
Yeah.
that's the case.
Well, this is what I
Yeah.
meant when I said earlier that other people might like this book, but they don't like it as much as me.
I mean, that's awesome.
But that happens every
Yeah.
once in a while. Like you'll read a book. I mean, I know this has happened. Like my favorite PKD book is Palmer Eldritch.
Hmm.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
And to some people, like he was in the depths of his one of his binges when he wrote that book in I think 6 weeks, maybe three.
Something like that.
Uh,
Yeah.
and he did
Yeah.
it for $3,000 because he
Right.
needed the money to stay high.
Right. Yeah.
And but that book similarly I walked away from and I had like this like because the constant appearance of Eldritch and like people having the metal teeth, and I won't get too into it, but where I was in my life at that point, I was like from a symbolic story perspective and then how that story resolves itself, it actually kind of help. I'm not really helped by self-help. It doesn't
No, me
work for
neither,
me. It doesn't
generally.
work for
No.
me. I have to
Yeah.
like watch a story and then it has to go through my own prism and filter, and then I find answers for things in life. And this, I did this when there's something about you because I did this when I was on your podcast too. I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
literally 3 beers and and I start talking crazy shit. But but I think like this is the actual power of stories, and I'm really happy to see so many dudes are out here reading, classics. But one thing that I would say is also mix in a little more recent shit too.
Yeah.
I see a
Yeah.
lot of guys who are going back. We're reading Dostoevsky on the pod this
Oh
year.
yeah.
Super excited about that.
Yeah.
The classics are the classics for a reason. That's my
Hmm.
position on it. But
Yep.
this new shit too, like it has medicine.
I
And
agree. I mean,
go
there
ahead.
is because there's timeless aspects to like to life, to being a dude, to being a woman, to being whatever, to being, but there are also like refinements and new things and changes and we are passing through some weird time warp thing right now. And I don't know,
Mhm.
none of us know what it's going to look like on the other side. So there is some level of having to kind of contend with that. And not that every book should be like uh uh and I don't even know that I would recommend these sorts of books that are like this is the book that's going to capture the moment and tell you what's really going
Zeitgeist.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
not like that. It's like you're picking up intuitions and you're picking up sort of notes of what's going on and that
Hmm.
sort of thing, picking up subtleties of what's happening that maybe, you know, if they don't help you understand what's going on, maybe at least help you feel like you're not totally by yourself in your bewilderment, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
not alone in your bewilderment. And also, I'm glad that you brought that up because most people go for current events, they go to talking heads and
Mhm.
podcasters and bloggers and people who are actually talking about the current moment.
Yeah.
But I think instead, you'd get a lot more out of reading people who are writing fiction who are alive in the current
Yeah.
moment
Yeah.
and going to it in a kind of tarot interpretation way because it's a dance. It's not
Mhm.
just, somebody's not giving you a diktat from on high, right? Like
Right.
you have to, uh, yeah. And I think you just end up feeling a lot better about the world. And just like, I don't keep up with the
Yeah.
news anymore. I don't know if you do.
I barely.
I
Yeah.
kind of know what's going on. I find out about it at work because somebody would be like, "Can
Yeah.
you believe that the ice shot somebody in the eye?" I'm like, "Whoa, goddamn, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't like
Yeah.
that."
Yeah. Right.
Uh, but
Yeah.
but
I'm
I'm very
paying
much
less
in
and less
fiction.
attention. I'm paying less and less attention to it for sure. I mean, part of the reason, and this is so I don't like getting in, I don't like over prescribing fiction as this like, um, there is a great, I don't know if you ever listened to the podcast Weird Studies,
I
which
love
I
that
love.
show.
I love
I
those
started
guys.
dude, I'm gonna
Yeah.
like be that guy. I started
Yeah.
listening to them from episode one. I was an
Oh,
I'm an
really? Oh,
OG. I'm
okay.
an
No,
OG.
I'm not that old
I was
OG,
in
but yeah.
Korea and I was not
Yeah.
not the first, it was the third
Yeah.
one, but I listened to the
Yeah.
first third. But
Nice.
I've been around.
Yeah.
I've been around. Sorry,
Yeah,
but go
no,
ahead.
no.
Yeah.
One of my podcasting highlights is I've had both of those guys on independently as
Oh,
guests,
that's
so
sick.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, I learned something from them. They're talking about the work of Charles Taylor and this philosopher and his idea of the immanent frame. And I probably don't understand the immanent frame, but how J.F. Martell from Weird Studies describes it, it's like when you see a poster that says or something that says you should smile because it's good for your heart cardiovascular health. It's
Hmm.
like, no, you should smile because like smiling's cool. Like that's a good part about being a human. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so like
Right.
the idea like you should read fiction because it like makes you a better person. It's like, I don't know about that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
but on the other hand, I do think there is a value in it because one thing that I think as sort of like a mental like technique or whatever that fiction does help you deal with is the ability to hold two different interpretations or more of something in mind at the same time. And if you're not doing that when you look at like current events or whatever, you're just going to get suckered down into one like silo or another. If you're not ever able
Yes,
to be like,
yes.
well, it could be this and it could be this and it could be some weird mixture of the two of them that I don't understand yet, I think you're just going to end up like buying into one person or another's lie. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And that's so important. And I think about that too. So a couple of things about that. The first thing, I totally agree with that first part. You should not read fiction because it's like some kind of self-improvement
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
Um, it is, but
Hmm.
that's not the reason why you should do it. The second thing is like it's alarming to me how many writers do kind of become mouthpieces. Like 2016 was brutal, right? As soon as Trump got elected, it like so many people who I know who were like smart, funny, nuanced, interesting people
Yeah,
just
yeah,
somebody took a fence post to the back of their head
yeah,
basically
yeah, yeah. Knock the
and
sense out of them.
just knocked the sense out of them. And
Yeah,
now it's like I'll be on Facebook and there'll be uh one of my friends see I always do this in the podcast. I won't use any names because they always get mad at me. Uh but he, very successful author, had movies made of his work, all that kind of shit. Really nice guy. But now all he posts on Facebook is like total TDS, like derangement type things. And it's
yeah,
like, am I the biggest fit? No, not really. But like,
yeah.
I think what you're talking about is we all come at this from like we have first principles. And so when something happens, we're not saying like, I need an opinion that fits this mode that I'm in. Like I personally have principles and will then decide
Right,
that this is right.
right.
And that has to come from fiction. But I'm wondering why for so many people, they seem to be the hardest hit.
I don't know. I mean, that's like Stephen King is this like
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
bizarre iteration to me. It's like on the one hand, granted, kind of uneven his output, but if you just take the best stuff of his, one of the greatest American writers,
Of
certainly one of
course.
the
Yeah,
greatest living
absolutely.
American writers, right? And then, yeah, on the other side, his social media output is like, dude, are you literally retarded?
Yeah,
Like none of
yeah.
that, like this is the
Yeah, yeah.
most airbrain. Like even if I did agree with you, large like in overall, like
Hmm.
some of the stuff you're saying, it's like dude, just get off the internet, man. You need to go outside.
He got hit hard. He got hit real hard.
He did.
Where
He did.
where but I always think of writers as these like because it's who I am. I think of them as
Mm,
these more kind of mystical like hippies now are considered right wing, I think,
I know.
because we have to talk about your ayahuasca. Um
Oh
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
but uh but hippies are now considered more right wing. I think though just because like the kind of baseline for being a hippie is you do have this kind of holding two things at
Mhm.
once kind of thing and like not really and also having first principles. Like my whole thing was that I was very much considered to be like on the left of things, but I had like a strong distrust of government and pharmaceutical companies. And then COVID happened, and I continued to have a strong distrust of
Same,
pharmaceutical
same
companies.
thing happened to me.
And
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh, you fucking Trump bitch!"
Right,
Like, and
right,
I was like,
right. Yeah.
No, I just
Yeah.
I didn't change. I'm just
Yeah.
working from these principles."
No, I,
So
I was the same way. I was like, no, I thought we hated the pharmaceutical companies. What is
yeah,
happening?
yeah, like
Like, what are you
Pfizer's
guys
the
doing?
bad guy, like the actual bad guy. And but nobody's like whenever I would bring that up,
Yeah.
it's like nothing kind of got through. And I think what might this is the first time I've thought of this. So this is like a rough idea. But I wonder if like Donald Trump as a person is not so symbolically powerful. Like everything, like he's a wizard essentially,
Hmm.
and he has a power with words. And I wonder if he wasn't the gravitational force around him wasn't so strong that if you are kind of like if you're symbolically oriented but you aren't really rooted in a like you don't have both feet on the ground necessarily, that's a tornado that you can just
Right,
very easily get swept up into. Maybe
right,
that's what happened.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I
what
think
happened to
there's I
Stephen King.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Yeah, you either get totally sucked into it or you get sort of spun off of it or something. Right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I thought it was really interesting when I mean just since we're talking about this, when he first came around, he started calling out like fake news, and then the sort of other side of things started referring to the fact that now we were in the post-truth era because Trump was, a liar or whatever, as they all are.
Sure.
And and I just thought it was really interesting because to that they with everybody thought they were saying was like, yeah, the media is like distorting things. My take on it was like, no, it's the post-truth era because literally nobody from now on is going to be able to understand what's actually happening. There will be
Yes.
no way to like get your hands on. And that's only gotten worse with like AI generated video and like whatever. Like you're
Mhm.
getting further and further from any ability to tell like what actually happened. And
Mhm.
so yeah, that I think you're right. I think he is sort of like there is like this like black holes bend light around them or
Yeah,
whatever. There is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
something. It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
distortion field that distorts every time everybody who looks at him, it distorts them in a different
And
way.
he just never did that for me. He was just always
Yeah.
a goofy guy who
Yeah.
I thought was a little dumb,
Hmm.
and easily manipulatable.
Yeah.
And like, so I fell into this very weird camp because I was on one side, I was like, yeah, I don't like the guy. And then I kind of became in like another sphere that was much more pro him,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were kind of like irritated that I wasn't,
Right.
like, but don't you
Right.
think this
Right.
dude is like the coolest? And I'm like, no,
Yeah. Not
no,
really.
not
Yeah. I know
really.
I was very much the same. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say I was very much the same way. It's just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, kind of, yeah. Then you end up like with nowhere to like stand really on the
Until
political
now,
front.
right?
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
it feels like this is a very recent development. The past few years, this has been happening where it's guys who are kind of like us who I know myself personally, I was actively pushed out of traditional publishing, so I
Mm,
kind of had to figure out how to do the indie stuff
yeah.
because of that, with everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and now it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of people who are like, yeah, this shit is all stupid. Like let's
Right.
just make
Right.
cool stuff, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
But
Yeah, for
real
sure.
quick, I want to ask, I just need to check on my dog real quick.
Yeah.
I'll be back in like 2 minutes. But I want
Wait,
to
should I take this would be a good time for me to take a bathroom break, I feel
Perfect.
like.
Let me pause it real
Okay.
quick. Hey, Kelby, how do I pause this shit? Oh, there it is. Pause.
there. And I didn't want what y'all stop recording?
Yeah, I paused.
Oh,
Yeah.
anyways. So yeah, it snowed this morning. Last night I finished putting the trampoline and shit together, and I'm glad I did because that shit was just covered. And so, but he hadn't seen the trampoline, so we were like, "Well, happy birthday! Here's snow and here's the trampoline." And he was out there. He's got like Viking blood. He was out there in like a light jacket and barefoot, and he was
Oh
just
yeah.
like ready to jump on it. So
Was that the first snow he's ever seen?
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, because we don't get that shit in Texas.
Right. Right. That's awesome.
We haven't gotten shit here. We've just gotten crazy. Our days have been lows of 15 and highs of 65, which is extremely disorienting. The way I describe the weather in Oklahoma is that it's designed to drive you crazy because I don't have a problem with cold. I also don't have a problem with heat, but I have the problem with the extremes. And
Yeah, how
also,
do you deal
every
with that
day
shit?
is completely cloudless and the sun is low, so it's always in your eyes. And there's also 40-mile-an-hour winds all day long.
Oof.
So if you're in a car, you're being knocked around, you step out, the shit's blowing in your face. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Oklahoma's a big fuck you state.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh.
all right, so the ayahuasca.
Ah,
Tell me
yeah.
about this.
Well, I guess I don't know. This is weird. My relationship to this stuff is changed over time. I used to be like like I used to like proselytize for people to do it. Now I'm like, don't do it unless you like
Same.
really
Yeah.
want to. Like if you
Yeah.
really want to, you should, but like if not, I'm not gonna try and talk you into it. But it's been significant and valuable for me. Um and uh Yeah, I mean, I've had a number of ceremonies at this point. I go like try to go like once or twice a year for sure. It's sort of replaced any need that I might have had for, therapy or whatever. And becomes like a part of your, quote unquote spiritual practice. And then every once in a while, you do get like creative or writing insights from it for sure. Like it helps you, I've sat there and like figured out projects and thought about things and gotten an inspiration and gotten encouragement and stuff like that. So it's been super valuable in that regard as well. Uh, And then also it's like one of the craziest things you can do. I mean, there's like skydiving, there's having kids, there's I guess bad stuff too. If you gotten some kind of catastrophic injury would probably be on the same par. But it in terms of an intensity and craziness and like remarkability in your life, it's sort of on that it can be on that level as well. Super when it's going well, it's a super intense experience that presents a lot of shit that you've got to reckon with. At least it has for me, I should say.
What did it tell you about the book?
Yeah, so there's specific stuff about the end that it gave me insight into like this should happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there's also like gives you I had moments in there and some of it's like intentional, like asking. So if people aren't familiar with it, at least the felt experience of ayahuasca is often that you are interacting with an entity. Um, People want to just say that's all in your head. That's fine with me. It's not what it feels like. Um, and so you can ask this thing questions sometimes. And sometimes it will answer you. Usually it answers you in a kind of trickstery way. Like it
Hmm,
sort of
hmm,
like
hmm.
sends you off another direction or like laughs at you for asking the question or whatever. It can do a bunch of different things. But so sometimes I've deliberately asked it questions, but other times it's like you just get like real deep empathy with a particular character that you came up with, just to like helps
Mm-hmm.
you understand what that person was actually like, or is actually like. Because another thing that happens in ayahuasca space is I don't know how to describe it any other way. You get visited by people,
Yeah.
and you get visited by like your mom or your dad or a friend you haven't thought about in a long time, and the experience is that they're present with you for a short period of time. And this isn't like they don't have to be dead. This isn't like necessarily getting it's all everything you know about them is like coalescing into this experience in which you're presented with them and you interact with them and you share memories or whatever. So I've had that experience with characters that I've cooked up before too, and then you kind
Mm-hmm.
of get a
Hmm.
sense of what their
But
sense of
like
what
the
their deal
the
is.
the the character shows up and talks to you.
A little bit, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah, yeah,
shorthand
yeah.
way of talking about it for sure.
Yeah.
And then also, the other thing that happens in that space from time to time is super fucking intense fear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hmm,
and
hmm.
so that stuff comes through in this book as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
just this
kind of
idea
fear
that
that
there's
you
something out there.
Yeah, there's a kind of fear that when you've been in that headspace and then you read something, I didn't actually know that you had done ayahuasca, but I
Mhm.
kind of knew from reading it because there's
Yeah,
a feeling to it. Like I don't like I guess Lovecraft could do it, but he obviously never did that shit. But he was
yeah, yeah.
also like a schizo shaman type dude.
Yeah, and he was having
Uh
night terrors and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So he was kind of coming to that in a different way, but you can recognize it when you see it and like, oh yeah, this is not there's like Lynch is another, but Lynch got there through TM. So I
Hmm.
mean, there's different ways I think.
There is
It
different ways. Yeah.
it would be interesting like if you sat down and like did ayahuasca and you were like, I need help with this book, right? And you drank the goop, as it were,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you start to trip, you throw up, you're shitting, you see the snake deity, and then like it tells you it's like this is the gayest book of all time.
Dude, she would do that if it
Yeah,
were. I
yeah,
I like there's
yeah.
tons of moments where it's been like I'll tell you like from my last experience, all right, just to tell you the kind of humor that has shown up in there for me.
Hmm.
Um I this stuff sounds so woo-woo and bullshit, but it's
You're in
who
a
I am.
safe space, buddy.
Yeah. I was dealing with the Wheel of Fortune card, right?
Uh-huh.
And when my last one, I had it sitting out on my mat and whatever, and go through this thing. And I go into ceremonies that are run by another person, and there's multiple. There's this last one was like 25 people in the room,
Damn.
and we're out on this property out in the middle of nowhere, and And I'm dealing with this idea of the Wheel of Fortune, right? And the
Hmm.
idea that like, hey man, you can put everything, you can put your best out there, and just luck, shit doesn't work out, or other people are going to be more fortunate than you by means of which you cannot account for. That's just how fucking life works, man. Some people are lucky, some people aren't. You'll be lucky, you'll also be unlucky, right? All of this stuff,
Yeah.
dealing with that, right? And feeling like I learned a lot from it. And the next day we did a morning ceremony. So we're actually outside in this case during the day. And it's a beautiful day. And I'm laying there, I'm a much lower amount than the night before. The night before I went to fucking outer space, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And this day I have like half of that, and I'm laying on this blanket and I'm chilling, and I'm just looking at the sun. It's beautiful. It's just one of those beautiful days. It's awesome. It just feels nice. I'm just vibing with everything. And I'm not looking at the sun, but I'm sort of like I'm aware of it in the corner of my eye. I'm just having this moment with the sun on my face. It feels great. And then a cloud passes over it, and in my head I go, "Oh man," like because the sun went away, right? I'm like, "Ah,
Hmm.
shit." And then in my head, a very loud voice goes, "Wheel of Fortune, bitch!" Like that's just what happens. Like you had it for a while, now you don't. Like fucking deal with it. That's how life is. You don't get to
Yeah.
have it forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the kind of humor it will have. Where I was like, yeah, Wheel of Fortune, bitch. What do you think
That's
was gonna
awesome.
happen? You get to have that moment for the rest of your life? Like what?
That would be
That's not how
stupid.
anything works.
And you would
Yeah.
start to hate it too. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Hmm.
is that
Yeah.
you would start to be like, I wish this fucking cloud would come out because the sun
Right.
is it's
Right.
really starting to piss me off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no,
I had a
that's
bunch
great.
of like she had I say it like refer to it as like a she, but like the thing in there has like a sense of humor. It will pull jokes on you. And
What do you
like
think's going on? What do you think it is? You think it's a thing?
I think you're I think you're communicating with some kind of spirit. I don't know if the spirit is Um, and I think it's positive. I think you can run into negative ones in there
Yeah,
too, but I think
right.
the primary one you run into is positive. I don't
Hmm.
know if it's something that's like in an animist sense is like lives in that particular plant,
Hmm.
or if the chemical structure of that plant allows you to get in touch with it. I'm not sure which of those two things it is, but I I think you're interacting with some kind of non-human intelligence of some sort. It might be an angel. It might
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
yeah, like the Peruvians refer to it as Pachamama.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is exactly, but I do think you're interacting with something
Yeah, I
out
think so
there.
too. I think
Yeah.
it's I think this goes back to story, and I think it's one strain of a story being, because when you hear about the discovery of ayahuasca in the Peruvian jungle, where the amount of combinations of plants, because you have to have both,
Yeah.
you have to have the
Yeah.
root and the MAOI
A
and
leaf. Yeah.
inhibitor. The amount of combinations necessary to do that is impossible. It's astronomical
Hmm.
to find those
Hmm.
two to mix together in that specific way. And when there's a great book called How Forests Think. I
Mm.
can't remember the name of the guy, but he's an anthropologist and he spends a lot of time with this tribe in there. And when they're asked about it, it's like Eduardo something. They say, "Oh, we found out about this because the plants told us."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and
Eduardo
I
Khan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cone, right, Eduardo
Yeah.
Cone. But that book is really interesting if you want to kind of. I'm very interested in perspectivism when it comes to animism, like the way that a snake sees a hole in the ground, not as a hole in the ground, but as a home, the way we look at a home and think
Right.
about it that way.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but the book is really about how this tribe sees the world around them, and how the
Mm.
forest itself might think in a way. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and to tie that back to ayahuasca, I do believe that whatever that being is, it knew that eventually it would make it to us and do
Hmm.
what it's doing to us. It had been doing it for them for a while. And I think it also knew all the negatives too. Like, not everything that comes out of ayahuasca is great. I mean, how many
Yeah.
stories of tech bros going to Peru and doing ayahuasca and coming back and being like, I found out a new app. It's like, vending machines. It's like that, but you have to use your phone, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
But that to me goes back to the sense of humor that it has
Yeah.
too. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's sending those things back too. It's like, yeah, this fucker is
Right.
retarded, basically.
Let
So
him deal with that for a little while. Yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
No, there's like on this instance there was a and I've been in I've I mean I've done it a fair amount of times. I've been to I probably had 25 different sessions right at this point.
right,
And um I remember sitting with this group down in North Carolina, and afterwards this guy was like, it was his first time, and first time people get their fucking wigs peeled back, and you don't
yeah,
really know what's going to happen until like everything kind of settles out. And he was an interesting guy, you know, and he owned some kind of business or whatever. And sort of afterwards, in the as sort of dawn was coming up, we were talking, and he's like talking about how he's getting all these like downloads, and he's just like learning all of this stuff by, you know, the you know, in an instant. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man, that's cool, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, I think I figured out how to drum. I was like, okay, that's cool. All right. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know.
hell
Like,
yeah, hell yeah,
and then the next night, there's a period of time where like if somebody wants to play an instrument for a while, they're invited to, right? Sort of as everybody's kind of in the long tail of it. And
yeah,
he starts to
yeah,
play the drum, and the dude has no idea how to play a drum. Like not even he
yeah,
can't even do like the basic like da-tunk, da-tunk, da-tunk. He can't even do
yeah,
like keep a rhythm. And to me, I was like, she's having a laugh at him because he had
yeah,
this ego moment where he thought he
right.
was fucking mastering everything. And then he got presented with a situation where he had to sort of perform in front of people. And he's being sort of shown the error in his thinking or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was her pulling a prank on him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that I think people don't really understand about spirits in general is that they do have senses of humor. It's like, what do you
Hmm.
think a haunting is?
Right.
You
Right.
know, in movies, it's always this terrifying, like, oh, it's
Mhm.
trying to kill you. It's like,
They're
no,
Yeah.
fucking with you.
it's fucking
They're
with
fucking
you.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They fuck
yeah,
with you. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's also it's not like I don't know about ghosts. I've seen a bunch of ghosts in my life, so I'm
Yeah.
inclined to believe in their existence, but I don't know if they are what we. I don't think they're spirits of dead people. I think that's a
Yeah.
way too
I don't know what to think of it.
simplified, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think they are, David?
I think they're part of I think they're part of story and place. And I think that places generate fields of kind of like imaginative force the way that we have it. And I think that when that force interacts with a human who's going into it, I think it can manifest as things like uh, you know, things flying across the room and seeing apparitions
I like
and
that.
there's a reason why the stories that we bring into it tend to be the thing that people see, whether they know it or not. It's like if you go into an old plantation or something, you might not know that 10 people were killed and buried under the floorboards, but you kind of like if you were to see a ghost there, you would know what you would nobody's seeing like you know, crab people come out or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
But I
Yeah,
do
it's like
think that
there's actions that can generate these certain like specific imaginative forces that everybody can like experience in the same way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like those dead people that like their souls are stuck there
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because that's not how I think souls work at all. I think like
Same.
once you die, I think your soul goes to the well of souls and gets ready to be reloaded and back right into you know back into into the wheel or whatever. But yeah, no, I think that there's a reason when you look at the experiments of people like Russell Targ, who is big into ESP, some of
Hmm.
the most fascinating experiments are that he would do these psi experiments basically, and he would get these incredible results above chance, right?
Hmm.
Like not super above chance, but you also don't have to be super above chance for it to be alarming, right?
No.
And there was one point where he would bring in a skeptic about this kind of thing and they would run the same experiments and they'd get different results and he would get the positive one and the skeptic would get the negative one so
Right.
kind of and I'm literally bringing that concept into my X-Files thing, right?
Yeah.
um
Nice. Yeah.
because it is what you bring to it. All paranormal phenomena require a little bit of belief and the
Hmm.
ability to resonate with place, and some people just don't have that. Like the guy who thought he could drum has probably never seen a ghost. And it's not a dig
Right.
on him. He's a soul
No.
just like us.
No,
But
he was in the process of figuring all this out. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
some people just the same way, for whatever reason, I was born further along with all this. It doesn't mean I know more than people. It just means that I'm more open. And some people, their whole point in this short life that they have this time is learning is experiencing this through a materialist, scientific,
Right.
rationalist kind of way. And
Right.
that's the only way Vedanta really makes sense is if there is difference like that. You know,
Mm.
Vedanta doesn't work if everybody has the same experience. Then what's the point of God breaking himself up into billions of different pieces to experience the variety of humanity if
Right.
everybody's the
If they're
same?
all going to be exactly the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think there's like a ghost who like wakes up in the morning and is like, I'm gonna fuck with this person today and then go silent for 30 years and
Yeah.
then show up on like in a spirit box 30 years
Right.
later for the what was that show? That great I love that show. Where the people are investigating the goblins in like West Virginia.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
know what you're talking about.
What was that
I
show
can't remember the
called?
name of it. I can't remember the name
It
of
was
it.
it
great.
was with an H. It was
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
uh
Hellier.
Hellier,
Hellier.
yeah,
That's
that
what it
show
Yeah.
was.
fucking slapped.
Yeah.
That was great. I think that's
Dude.
one of the best depictions of weird phenomena. And
No,
I
Hellier's
know
good.
I
Yeah.
know that the two leads in that became super TDS libtarded at a certain
It did.
point. Uh,
They made another good shorter thing. It's like a one-off about some of this haunted object that they had.
mhm.
And it's really pretty good. I don't can't remember the name of it. It's really pretty good because they do this thing where how does it work? It's like you put
Yep.
you
You
how
listen
does
to radio frequencies and you pick out the
yeah.
words.
Well,
Yeah.
they do the no, I think they do the thing where they cancel out their own audio so they can't hear anything, and then
Okay.
they ask questions. There's some way in which like the only person that can hear what the thing is saying is the not the person who's saying it. It's this attempt to do like a sort of a
Yeah.
make it scientific to a certain extent. But
Sure.
anyway, it's really pretty good. It's freaked me out. And
Yeah.
Hellier is great. Hellier's really
Yeah.
well done.
And a lot of people
Yeah.
had problems with Hellier because they don't have an answer at the end of it.
Right, right.
And I
That's
was
what
like,
everybody wants. It's like
but
that's
you
not how
weren't,
it
were you
works.
not entertained by everything
Right.
that just happened?
Right, right,
I mean,
right,
high
right.
weirdness is do you ever listen to Higher Side Chats?
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I love that show. I think it's great.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think high weirdness again, it's I have a grand unifying theory and it's all story, right?
Mm,
And I
I
think
like
that
it.
the thing that we interact with, I think the thing that tarot is doing, ghosts, paranormal phenomena, it's all if you
Different
begin to
ways of getting
think
at it.
of yeah, if you begin to think of story as a positive force, positive meaning something that influences and has like a presence rather than
Mm,
just, a kind of passive nothing thing, a lot of shit starts to make a lot more
mm.
sense.
It's
I say
like,
all the time that like when shit's happening and I can zoom out and see it like a story. I can like detach myself enough from what's going on in my life. I say it all the time now. Like this makes narrative sense.
Yep.
Like
right,
this.
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I've definitely had those moments where you almost even sometimes have those moments where you kind of almost feel like not in a psychic way, but like I kind of know what's going to happen next because it would make narrative sense
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
this is the next thing that would happen, right? This guy's going to do something fucking stupid, or this is going to work out just fine, or whatever it is, like because it would make narrative sense for that to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I feel about where I'm at in my life right now. A lot of things just make narrative sense. It's like, okay, cool. You survived that point. So now you're in a period where you get to just kind of, grow.
I've taken ballsy moves, but not. I mean, I guess it's confidence based, but the confidence comes from being like the why would that have happened if it's not gonna lead to this? So I'm gonna jump off
Right.
this cliff and then I'm gonna sprout wings.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that's what people
Right.
talk about when they talk about God's plan too, which is just another term for
But
what
Drake,
we're
but
talking about.
but Drake came up with that, so
Oh, that is true. Yeah, that is true.
Hey man, maybe he's a visionary, you know.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That guy's funny. But yeah, man. And I think what's so interesting, like there are so many young dudes right now who are getting into Orthodox Christianity, right?
I've noticed this,
It
yeah.
got me too.
Mm,
I went to it. Those churches are really super cool, but then I had the same problem that I have with everything, which is you start to find out like, oh yeah, like these guys don't like fuck with gay people and like they don't think that women should do this, and this. And so I'm just libtarded enough to be like, yeah, it's cool and it's spooky and you do kind of have like the like going to the divine liturgy, like you feel it, that thing
Yeah.
that I think all
Yeah.
of us here would recognize because we've been in that space, but
That's the
I
one where
don't
they slap you with the fish.
they do slap you with a fish, yeah. And
Do they? I didn't
they
know that.
tickle your balls too. Yeah, which is really weird.
At the
I
same
mean,
time,
wait. Now I might. Oh, that sounds kind of nice, maybe.
Yeah, it was
How
nice.
did-
did they
It's kind
tickle it
of
with the
with a
fish?
feather or yeah.
no, just like they did like with their fingers, they were doing this kind of thing, and it was
Like
nice.
they had normal fingers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they had normal fingers.
They had
It's like
normal
an old
fingers, yeah.
man's long fingers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
dude, they were arthritic and creaking, and he was like, "This hurts me more than it hurts you," type shit. But no, the churches are beautiful and stuff. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting that there's like this whole kind of turn to religion that just no matter what it is, and no matter how kind of sacred and interesting and
Mm.
whatever it is, you have that troublesome human element
Yeah.
that people tend
Yeah.
to run into.
I understand why people are doing that, but I don't think it's gonna be for me. I for multiple reasons. I mean, one thing, these ayahuasca experiences I've had, as cheesy and as like whatever as they can sort of seem from the outside, dude, it's plugged me straight into something. And so
Yeah,
it gets weird to be like, I'm gonna go to a church and like hear a dude talk about something and
Mm.
yeah,
feel like that's somehow the same thing. I don't know.
right, right. No,
So
I'm with you 100%. It's like
yeah.
so I've blasted off on DMT and I've seen the other
Mhm.
side and I've met the gnomes or the
Yeah.
elves or whatever, and
Right.
then I come
Yeah, me
back and
too.
I've
I've been there.
seen ghosts and aliens and all this kind of shit, right? And then I go there and it's like, yeah, all that is not real. And you got to listen to this guy who's
Right.
never done any of those things. You
Right.
almost want him
Right.
to, you know? Like, hey,
Yeah.
dude, blast off and tell me what you see. But
Yeah.
I have a friend, his name's Brian. He goes by Reverend Janglebones.
I
His
know Reverend. Well,
Substack.
I see him on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
is worth reading because he has this whole thing. It's like Christian, and because I think the Christianity part is important because it's our heritage, right? And
Hmm.
so, like, when I went to this church down the road, this Orthodox church, what I was really affected by was the ancientness of it and the fact that that is the church that has survived 2000 years largely intact, largely the same way they would have practiced that back in the day. So I think from a perspective of tradition and connection with the divine, I do think there's a there, but it's also existed for 2000 years with people in charge.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
you just can't get away from that. So some kind of mixture, I think, of the two, which a lot of
Yeah.
Orthodox people like. I love Martin Shaw. His writing is fantastic. He does a lot of stuff on folklore, but now he's an Orthodox Christian. Like he's friends with Paul Kingsnorth, so they
Hmm.
all kind of they did like a girls' trip to all become Orthodox together. And and he's like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't like people who experience their religion a la carte. And I'm like, dude, that's the only way I've ever experienced it.
Mm.
I no,
That's
that's me
interesting.
too. And oh, sorry, Nikki.
Oh no, I was saying that's really interesting. That I feel like that is how you should experience basically everything, a la
Yeah,
carte. If
yeah.
you're like, you know what I mean? Like if you should make pick and choose to like what you want out of life.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I'm the same way. I maybe that part of me is broken, but I'm like I'm sort of like a Gnostic in the sense that of no like I need to experience the thing. I want to experience the thing. I don't want to just be told about it.
Yeah.
Um so that's I don't know how I mean I was raised Catholic, right? And so there is some of that in me, and the aesthetics of it kind of appeal to me, and there's stuff in there that I like and
Right.
appreciate and respect for sure. But yeah, man, ultimately, like I'm gonna need the experience. I can't just sit in the pew and like I don't know, think about it or
Yeah, I mean, like
whatever.
I grew up
Yeah,
with like disinfo books and conspiracy and like Grant Morrison and all this
yeah,
kind of shit, and I'm like, I can't and magic and the occult, and that's what's so
right.
funny too is Kingsnorth talks about how he used to do pit like pagan shit
Yeah.
and now he's found this orthodoxy, and I don't doubt that he
Mhm.
has. I respect it, but like
Right.
I also kind of think that he's a dude in particular who really likes rules and
Mm.
like having like a firm, no questions asked belief about how things work. And so
Yeah.
he's kind of a solid fit for Orthodox Christianity,
Right. Yeah.
because I read Against the Machine, which I thought was fantastic. It was one of my books of the year, but like reading it, he
Yeah.
calls himself an extremist over and over and over again. And he used to be like
Right.
an environmental extremist, and then he was like a Wiccan extremist, and now he's a Christian extremist.
Right. Right.
And it's like, okay, but that's your thing, right? You like going balls deep in everything that you do. I just put the tip in. Like I just keep
Yeah.
going around putting the tip in, seeing, checking the
Yeah,
oil, seeing what's going on.
I've never been an extremist for anything, right?
Yeah.
Like in a
Yeah.
way, so that doesn't make sense. I need my boundaries to be very flexible. And as soon as
Yeah.
feel like the spiral that I'm in is closing off, I'm like, I don't want to be in this anymore,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that makes it that it's kind of tough, like as writer. It would be easier to be an extremist as an artist, right? And be like, this is the
Yeah.
way I see the world, and
Right.
I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you the full
Yeah.
dick. I don't know
Yeah.
why I keep talking about dick,
Well,
but
that's like
Oh,
I
we
mean, the
get it.
Earthen Dark is like there for the book for the stuff that happens in the book to have actually happened, like presupposes a pretty odd cosmology
right.
that I don't think is actually real,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right,
And
right,
so
right.
if I was like carefully hewn to like a particular church, I might be like, well, I can't write that because that's not, the word of whatever. But
Hmm.
like they're um trying to be sort of experimental with notions of what reality is to a certain extent to like, I don't know, I guess make a point or whatever. But
Hmm.
I feel like if I was locked into a particular religious mindset, I don't even know if you'd be able to write like is somebody who's like a
Yeah, yeah.
diehard Orthodox Christian, are they going to be able to write like some Lovecraftian weird horror, or are they going to just be like, that's blasphemous? I don't really
Right.
know.
Somebody like JF could do it for sure,
Sure. Yeah.
but
Yeah. And
he's
Matt
he's
Carden, I don't know if you're familiar with
Matt
Matt
Carden,
Carden.
yeah,
Yeah,
The
yeah, him
Wellspring
too.
guy, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, no, but those guys are rare, like
Hmm.
it's so exceedingly rare. And I think
Yeah.
like Martell has like having listened to the show and everything, like he's so smart and interesting and has such
Mhm.
a like he knows what he's doing with Catholicism, and it's
Yeah.
not just adopting a thing that he can just supplant all of his current ideas
Right.
like with
Right.
that. Um,
Right.
while you were talking, something real quick too. This is gonna seem like you know how your buddy compared what you were doing to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
The way this book made me feel also was this is gonna sound like I'm being a dick or trying to be funny, but
It's
it's
fine.
actually true. I used to read a bunch of Goosebumps books back in the day. I kind of got that Goosebumps feeling, dude. Like
That's cool. Yeah.
there's like a Goosebumps book where they're at this haunted theme park and like they go down a slide and the slide just goes
Yeah.
forever.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
creepy as
see where you're
hell.
going.
Yeah.
I see where
Yeah.
you're going
That's
with that.
that's super fucking
A
creepy.
lot of the
Yeah.
Goosebumps books were about like what if a normal thing but forever, you
Right,
know?
right, right, right.
Like
That's
what if you
That
put a
is why
mask
this
on but you could never take the mask off? Well,
mm,
what then?
that is
Uh
why this book is so fucking terrifying. When the
yeah.
shit starts happening down in the sewer, it's like what?
Right,
Because
right.
I've had I can't think of any actual experiences I've had. No, I have had Simmons and I shared an experience like that where we were driving back from West Virginia to Baltimore, and we went through like this weird time warp where all of a sudden we had been on the road for 4 hours longer than we should have been, but we were going in the
Whoa.
same direction. Like we didn't get turned around or anything, and we
Right.
could feel it. So like our physical space was there was no difference, but we felt that stretch of time. And we were like, bro, when the fuck are we gonna make it back? And
Holy
it
shit.
was terrifying. We stopped at a gas station, we got some coffee. We were like, bro, this don't make no goddamn sense. And we're just like, are we in
Whoa.
hell right now? What is happening?
Whoa.
Y'all
That's
got sucked into
wild.
a Goosebumps vortex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking hell, man. That
we're
Yeah.
sounds wild. I see, I've never had anything like that, to be honest. Like, Yeah, I haven't. I haven't had much weird stuff happen in my normal life, but I'm like incredibly open to it. So I've
Yeah,
had to like force it by like putting chemicals in my brain. You know what I mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it will, dude, if you just give it time. My wife and I had
Yeah.
a weird one. Like, so we were driving to this to the Santa Fe Trail, and while we were on the road, she fell asleep, and I put on Higher Side Chats,
Mhm.
and the guest was the guy who does Missing 411.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and
Dave
so
Paulides.
yeah, him,
Yeah.
yeah. And he was talking about, people going missing in Yellowstone primarily. And I turned the podcast off, turned it to something else. We got to the trail, and the trail is just a giant triangle, not complicated. But we start off on the trail, and people are passing us, and it's a completely normal thing. We have our dog with us at the time, Kahlua, rest in peace. But then all of a sudden, we get to a point, and there's nobody on the trail, like for a really long time, like a really long time. And I start to feel tired and sluggish, not like normal, I'm hiking sluggish, but like my soul feels like it's starting to become tired. And I start noticing things out of the corner of my eye, like things flitting. There are voices that are coming towards us, and then nobody's there when we get to it.
Oh
And we've
man.
been in this for what feels like hours, and we encountered two people. Two people the entire time we're on like the last leg of this trail. And it's right after we go over this creek that has a tree that has all of these eyes carved into it and like a weird Blair Witch thing hanging from a branch. And we encounter two people, and they are like albino white. They're wearing
Bruh.
they're wearing like normal like exercise hiking gear, but
Mhm.
their skin looks like it's like the guy from Men in Black, like kind of like it doesn't fit right.
Right.
And they say, nice day for a hike, isn't it? And then the woman goes, and then they keep walking. The whole time, me and my wife haven't said shit. We just like look at each other. We're like,
Yeah.
we gotta get the fuck out of here. So this last
Right.
leg of the trip becomes kind of intense. We're just trying to keep up,
Get
right? And she keeps saying like, I'm really tired. Can we like sit down for a second? I'm like, I don't think we can. I think we gotta fucking go. Uh, and nobody. We make it out, obviously, because I'm here.
Yeah.
And we get in the car, and this is the first time that we've actually talked about it. Like we sit down, and I was like, "Was that fuck?" And she's like, "That was the weirdest shit I've ever experienced in my life. Something fucking was going on there." And I was like, I know, I felt it too. I felt it too." Anyway, end of the story is we're driving back home. She's asleep again, and I turn that missing 411 podcast back on. And the guy goes, yeah, like recently I've actually changed my focus. I don't really look at Yellowstone much anymore. The Santa Fe Trail has had a lot of disappearances.
Oh my God.
No shit. Oh, that's wild.
And I was like,
Dude,
fuck.
I'm headed out to Santa Fe in March. I'm gonna look this up. I might go
Do the
for the
Santa Fe Trail. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
it's
gonna
it's a
do it.
tri
I'm
it's
gonna
a
do it.
it's an easy triangle. There's nothing hard about the hike. There's some hills,
Right. Yeah.
but
There's something creepy at the
there's
core of it though.
there's something
Yeah.
going on with that
Hell
shit.
yeah.
Again, but it all comes back again like place and story, place and story. Like
Hmm.
that place is weird,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
trying to talk in a certain way. And sometimes that
Yeah.
talking results in people disappearing. So
Right.
who
Right.
knows?
Right. Huh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
have fun.
Southwest
I
is
would love to
definitely
live
into
in
it.
Santa Fe, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's my where I hope to end up at the end of my life is either Taos or Santa Fe.
Right on. Right on. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, man. Everybody go buy the Earth and Dark.
Hell yeah. Do it. Oh yeah,
Highly
I should
recommend.
pitch I should shill real quick. If you sign up as a annual paid subscriber at my at Method and Madness Substack or Method Madness Patreon, I will send you, as it presumes you have a US postal address, I will send you a special edition of The Earthen Dark that includes two hand-edited manuscript pages. This is just old draft stuff that's kind of cool because it's got a lot of chicken scratch on it, and a tarot card reading. You'll get a one card tarot card reading along with it. So do that. Plus, you'll get all the Method Madness bonus content
Cool.
as well. So
It's a great
there's,
show.
it's a good deal. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing about Brad is that a deal like that actually means something because you're getting in my opinion, way too much value for the money.
Well, dude, I mean that's what I'm trying to do, it's like, at some point people will start to figure out what the fuck I'm doing and be into
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
we're
I think
working
they
our way
will.
to
I
that.
think they will.
Yeah.
I really, five-star book.
Thanks,
I
man.
appreciate you sending
Appreciate
it
it.
to me, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Peace.
Oh, yeah.